Sorry. What's up, everybody? This is your girl Ericka from the Classism blog. Listen, I had to bring it in. Some more Philly people. Y'all love the Philly conversations. I said, who is the man with the most silkiest hair next to me online? I said, Jimmy. I said, if I don't get Jimmy out here to let the soul shine through, okay, come on through. And then Corey brings it in, the dad with the most. Come on, Corey. So listen, originally, if you ever see me online and I share a funny page, it's usually by the Hood. They do a great job of some comedic gold on Instagram. But I really look forward to talking with them because they are like foot on the gas for as far as Philly, as far as real estate, as far as investing, and actually crypto as well. So I hope you guys enjoy this, but please introduce yourselves to the audience for us. Thank you.
Absolutely. I'll go first. All right. So my name is Jimmy, one half of By the Hood. Background is in real estate for the most part. I was actually a real estate guy first, but I've done everything in finance. I was a securities agent, life insurance agent. So I've worked on the stock side. Since 2016, I've been in cryptocurrency. I actually got a certification in crypto too. I'm a certified Bitcoin professional.
Watch out now. Wait a minute. Say that again.
Yeah. So I have a certification. So I'm one of these people, when I get into something, I want to study it and really, really understand it. I'm not just like winging it like a lot of folks are. No shots at anybody. But so, Corey's actually the person that put me on the Bitcoin. But so I already had a background in working in securities. In real estate, I've done everything from a developer, investor, even appraiser. I was an appraiser trainee and all that kind of thing. So but I got into crypto. So our business is a combination of the three. So everything goes back to real estate, as you always say. But we use the crypto as our bank to buy our property, and then we invest in the stock market. So, but By the Hood overall, I would kind of describe us as a community organization because we do a lot of work in Philadelphia, in the inner city, trying to just educate people about the power of ownership.
My name is Corey. I'm a teacher. I'm the other half of the By the Hood team. What Jim is talking about, the programs we do, Jim was working with mostly adults, and I work with the youth population. And so we came together to work with the youth population. My investment journey is I get into anything because my money ain't scared of nothing. Right. My money just ain't scared. So I really wasn't into real estate to start. I actually got into crypto first, and then the stock market, and then real estate. Well, I had real estate. So my family owns a lot of real estate in Philadelphia, because my grandmother was she had real estate, and so my family owns. We had family-owned property in Philadelphia.
I love it.
But as far as my personal journey with owning houses in Philadelphia, I don't actually own a house in Philadelphia. I own houses all over the state, but I actually don't own myself a house in Philadelphia. I own commercial property in Philadelphia, but I don't actually own a house.
You like, these houses ain't good enough for me.
That's
I need
not
$1
true.
million.
I lived in Philadelphia the vast majority of my life, and my wife is from Texas, and so she wanted to move to Texas, and so that's why we bought our house in Texas instead of Philadelphia. She wrote it out with me for the last 15 years, and so when she asked for the house in Texas, that's what she got.
So when are y'all relocating to Texas?
She's going to Texas in 2 weeks.
She's like, I'm out.
Yeah, she's sick to death of northern lifestyles. My wife was born in Dallas and has lots of family in the Houston area and Dallas area, and she was like, I'm out of here. She was like, you can come with me if you want. But I'm out. You know what I mean? Like, we can be out or I can be out, but I'm out. So, she gave me the, she's like, look, I'm out. So I'll be there when I get there. So what I really do mostly is
goodbye though. Goodbye. Trust me.
Oh, no. Yeah. I mean, her family owns tons of property down there.
Well, I'm just saying Dallas, Texas, just period. Yeah.
Yeah. So we got a property. It's right outside Houston. So it's in Conroe, which is like 15 minutes outside of Houston. So the other thing is, what I do mostly is buy from tax sale. So I buy tax sale and I flip as is.
Yep.
So if you get a house from me, don't look for no improvements or no upgrades. If you getting what you get, and you decide what to do with it from that point. But I'm not doing that. So I don't have the same real estate journey as most people, but I do have a real estate journey, and I get a couple dollars in real estate. I just don't get it the same way everybody else does.
Listen, for 7 years I've invested in tax liens, and I've tried so hard to, hey y'all, hey, like certain areas do this, certain cities do this, and it's hard to get people to listen. And now, when folks is buying, $2,000 lot in Macon, Georgia, and turn around and sell it for $30K because it's right down the street from Atlanta, now it makes sense. And so when I'm showing them the land bank was selling some stuff for 400, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense now. But what am I do with a vacant lot? I'm like, build new construction.
Yeah,
or build new construction.
You literally could land bank it. You can land the same thing they did. You can literally just land bank it. You can just hold it.
Part of the deals I find are off Facebook Marketplace and other places is people being like, all right, give me $2,000 down and $300 payments till it's yours. And I said, y'all, that's the oldest thing in the book. Okay, y'all ain't never heard of that before. Black people in the South.
You actually find deals on Facebook Marketplace?
I actually do. You know why? Because I go, yeah, I like this one, but what else you got? What else you know in that area? Okay. And then they always got something else like, hey, I got this other thing. And I'm like, lead with that.
Lead with that thing that you're not putting over here.
Well, because I live in Texas now, so they think, hey, I'm going to get over on this stupid somebody from Texas. I go, no, baby, I'm from the Carolinas. I know where you're at. Tell me what you got else over there, because I've been trying to get over there. Right. So there's that. But yeah, all roads lead to real estate, and people get really angry when I say that. And I go, well, what's the biggest issue facing Black people right now? Every day of the week. Housing.
Yep. Housing.
Oh, police. No. Jobs. Housing.
But all those lead to real estate, like it's so many ways to look at that, right? So even as someone who studies crypto and the stock market, when I look at cryptocurrency, right, when I see that, and I do believe it's the future, but one thing I see is you're going to need space to put all these servers. Guess what's going to make a lot of money with that? Yep. Right? It's going to be people that own the land. You're going to have to own the land. Everything goes back to land. I remember reading an article and they were talking about Silicon Valley, and they said that people were talking about all the value that the tech companies made. They said, but the people that own the land out there got the wealthiest because they have to build these campuses. They have to. So everything leads back to real estate. Even if you have a company, every company has to have a place to have its headquarters for their employees to live. So I mean, no matter how you look at it, everything goes back to land.
Part of the whole journey when I was dealing with trucking is I was like, yo, these numbers don't add up. These don't make sense to me. I want to get out of this. Every man I talked to that had been in trucking for 120, he said, do you own some land? Rent out all the land spaces. He's like, that's how you really make the money. You own the trailers, rent the trailers out. You eventually, if you want to get out of trucks, you sell all your trucks to your drivers and put them on a lease. Everything leads to land. Do you have some land for this to be on, right? Or even here, we got a lady, she's got 10 acres in this one area where she could sell it for $300,000, but she's got like literally 20 trailers on that thing. And some people have been there forever. She's like, why would I sell it for 300 when I can make
X amount of years?
Infinity. You know what I'm saying? And take these old trailers off.
300 over the next 3 years.
Thank you.
Yeah, and if you want to get real crazy with it, right? If you own land, at the end of the day, you can learn to feed yourself off your land.
Have you noticed? I ain't jumping ahead of it, but there's a trend to return to homesteading by the van life people, right? And then there's a trend of a lot of Black people saying, "Well, I want to be a farmer," and then they go lease a piece of land for somebody. I'm like, baby, that's we did that before. That's sharecropping.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah, you
buy the land.
It's funny because I find myself on YouTube. I love those van life videos. Like I have no intentions of ever doing that, but I just love watching them. Because I just find it interesting, like how people really just sell everything and just like, I'm on this van and I'm out. Like,
well, they're doing what the boomers did.
Mm-hmm.
They're hippies.
Yeah,
we just don't have the Volkswagen van anymore, right?
Yeah. Well, they got some nice vans. Their vans are crazy. Yeah.
Now.
So I would say for that cryptocurrency in the future, our future conversation, remind me to send you the video of Dr. Mir talking at Real Estate Domination. I sat there in this room full of people who were talking about new construction, building multifamily. I'm talking about real estate people, right? We're going to make 50 to 100K off every new construction house we build for the next year because government needs affordable housing and most cities need housing, right? Mm-hmm. I'm sitting in that room. Dr. Mir comes on there and he says, and I'm not going to butcher it because I know I will, but he basically came up there and said he's building a startup company that assists in people selling real estate via cryptocurrency, right? And people are like, wait, take it slow because we don't know what you're talking about. And he was just talking about, imagine this hotel, we're in Las Vegas, and I wanted to sell it, but there's a buyer in another country, and America don't want him to buy it. But if I put it inside this vault, inside this thing that this person can buy it, or hundreds of people can buy it all over, and they would have a piece of this thing. And I was just like, by the time he finished explaining it, everybody's brain exploded, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's one.
Crypto does. That's what crypto does, though. It opens up the possibilities to literally do anything, which is why governments hate it.
Well, this is what he said. This is the part that I'm gonna make sure I send y'all the link when I get a chance to log in, because he said, "What is Tesla doing right now? They're mapping those cars. All they're doing is mapping the roads, mapping the highways. The Tesla will take you to where you need to charge your truck. You don't even have to change your map. It'll tell you, okay, we're gonna take you over here. You're gonna charge, get back on the road, And he said, if you look at it, there are parts of this country that future trucks need to be able to map, all this other stuff, but also people in Kansas, the city could go dead, and they go, you know what? Everything on here is on the blockchain. Each one of these little land lots are for sale, and people from all over the world can buy it. And now that town is flushed with money.
Yep.
Right. So there's a lot to it, but I'll send you his video because I'm butchering it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'll watch it because there's cities now that are creating like their own treasuries using crypto. Miami coin is available.
Miami, New York already did it. And
New York is crazy
because
New York won't let you sell your stuff. So
Philly is actually next. That's the next one. Philly coin is coming soon. So that bringing it back to Philly.
They're doing it all on the blockchain because they're seeing. Look, there's two cities in the country that did things right from the beginning. Colorado, when they legalized weed, and Colorado just got flush with cash instantaneously. They got so much weed, they got to outsource it to other places. In Miami, when they saw Bitcoin was popping, they said, we're going to create a Bitcoin treasury, and we're going to run like they did the same thing that Venezuela did. They said, Venezuela, the reason why the IMF, and if you don't know what the IMF is, the International Monetary Fund, is trying to get them off the Bitcoin standard is because on the Bitcoin, not Venezuela, El Salvador. They want to get El Salvador.
Yeah, but here's the thing though, right? The thing about it is, right? So Colorado, outside of what they did in the marijuana industry, they had some smart politicians in how they rolled it out, right? So I spoke at a real estate conference in Portland a couple of years ago, and one of the guys was complaining about how much successful Colorado was in them rolling out, because Portland did as well. But Portland was letting anybody have permits to do it. So if you walk on the street in Portland, there's like dispensaries, there's like 3 and 4 in every corner. And it got saturated, right? Colorado was very strategic in how they rolled it out.
Well, that's what reminds me of the North and liquor stores. Every 2 minutes, there's a liquor store. I'll be like, y'all, chill out.
Like mess the business up that way.
The thing I was thinking about, and people say, well, there's racism in the system, and I say New Jersey. This is why when people tell me there's no racism up north, I'm like, what are you smoking? New Jersey denied every single application of a black applicant, and people said, oh, you guys are taking the wrong information. I said, if I have 5,000 applications that are black people and all of them got denied, something off there, something off in the sauce. You dig what I'm saying? And so that's always been my complaint against marijuana is like, first of all, can we go back and get all these people we done put in jail for minor charges up out of here? Start there. Do what Seattle did. Wave it off people's records. Act like y'all got some sense, and then let's move forward, right? Even
racism in the North. I'm sorry, racism in the North is a little bit different than down south. It might be worse.
It's infinitely worse because they'll pretend not to be racist, which is
separate y'all way over there.
Yeah. So the thing about it is, I would rather. I like Southern. Like I'm to be honest, I prefer Southern racism because I know it's there, right? I don't have to guess, right? Anything that I don't have to guess about, I can fight. But if you got it hidden and put in corners and things where I can't see it, then it blindsides me, and then I don't have no defense against it. So show me your racism.
The way it out there for me to see. North. Like it's like a lack of access to capital and power, right? So they'll wear a BLM shirt, right? But they won't let you in their boardroom.
No access to anything that means anything.
Yeah. They'll give you everything that really has nothing tangible. Like I don't care if you wear a BLM shirt, you're not gonna let me in your boardroom. So the way it shows,
you ain't giving me no percentage of the little companies.
That's historic too. I mean, if you read the color of law, like it's historic in how they do it up north. It's a lot to me, maybe worse.
I mean, they very methodical. In the South, what ended up happening is you had to And if you look at and people know on this channel I'm super conservative. I'm not even in denial of this. If you look in the South, you had more classism. So it was like, hey, don't treat that guy like that. Like it was layers to it. But also we had defense weapons, right? People say, man, the Klan was bad down there. I said, not as bad as they want it to be, because we were down here like pew 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 pew. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Go check any old church. They have photos with guns everywhere.
Yeah.
And so, but what I tell people the difference is, like, I went to, it's classism is a big player in it, right? How you dress, how you look, all this silly stuff. I went to 40 banks and I kept getting a nine. I said, something's off here. Okay, I'm about to wild out. I went to my last bank and I showed them this thing that I learned from somebody white in Memphis. And they were like, who showed you this? I can't give you the loans because of these metrics. And I said, what are the metrics? He said, honestly, it's probably because you're a woman and you're black and you don't have the history in this, right? Experience in this. I can mark a number of things that it's experience based. Because I can't say anything about your credit score. I can't say anything about your money. You got everything else. He said, but this is what I want you to do. I'm going to give you this card. I want you to go over there to my friend. I want you to put your money through his hard money deal. Come back over here and I'll refinance you out at the highest number I can. Because I know you're working hard. I know you're trying to do it. He was the first banker to give me a solution and also be like, here, come back to me, because he was the vice president of the bank, and I will process all your future loans. I promise you that, because I know you're working hard. And he was just so candid. People were like, oh, I would have sued. I did this. I said, why? He was telling the truth. He said, I don't know shit. It's because you're a woman, you're young, you're black, all of it. Like he was joking in a Southern way, but he was telling the truth. And he did actually process my loan when I came back. So,
so why I'm not going to sue him. He
exactly,
put me on the bag.
And he gave you a solution too.
He gave
like,
me a
go
solution
over here,
and he put
meet
me
my
onto the
friend,
bag.
and come back. And so there's levels to what the conversation. That's when people say, "Oh, that's racism." I said it could have been, but he was the only banker to go out of his way to be like, "Let me make sure you do this step, and
is
come
he
back."
Racist or is he biased? There's a difference
There you
between
go.
racism and bias.
Hey,
right? He has his own biases, right?
Mm-hmm.
But racism is a power system. He gave you power. He gave you access.
Mm-hmm.
And so what he did wasn't racist. It was biased. He said, all right, these are the biases against you. And then, but what he did is give you access. That's where he left it at bias and left the racism out of it, right? Because the racism implies power.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm okay with you being biased. You cannot like me because of whatever, but if you give me access,
your bias doesn't bother me.
Yeah, exactly.
Damn about your bias. Keep your racism though.
Keep that off my neck. So we gotta hop into it. We 18 minutes in because we be cooking on conversations. Like when people are business owners, we talk about anything all day, right? So Philadelphia. Now people have been like, Ericka, why you keep bringing up Philly? I got some historical ties to Philly, but that's not the point here. Philly is just like Baltimore, but more significantly, because Baltimore is like still down here, Charlie. Philly has this blood being pumped into it. New blood. New Yorkers, everybody up north is moving. Right? They're not sold on moving south. They're not sold on moving past DC. They ain't sold on Virginia. They ain't sold on DC. They ain't sold on Maryland. They hopping into Philly. Right? I'm reading article after article of New Yorkers calling stuff New York in Philly, which probably drives y'all crazy. And then I remember reading an article and I said, this is the turning point, y'all. And this happened maybe 2 years ago on this channel, and the video went viral. I got like 80,000 views. Philly was like, that's it for wholesalers. This wholesaling's out of control. We're gonna make y'all get licensed. We're gonna make y'all do all this stuff. And the guy on the city council talking about it buys houses from wholesalers. It was even in the article. It was like the man telling y'all, we're gonna take just down, buys hundreds of houses a year from wholesalers. And so that video, when it went viral, I was like, man, there's something going on in Philly. So I wanted to bring y'all on because, people are going to say, well, Philly had 500 murders. You see this? And I said, but there's something else going on there.
Yeah.
We need to pull back some research here.
So let's do a little bit of math, right? Because most people don't understand. 500 murders in the city, in general, the city in the general area is 2 million people here, right? So 500 murders here is not 500 murders in some podunk town in the middle of nowhere, right? So percentage of population. So let's start there, right? But anyway, 500 murders is, 500 people still died, but as a percentage of the population, it's not so, because I grew up where thousands of people died per year in Philadelphia during the crack era. See, people don't understand when you grew up through the crack era here, when you see 500 murders, it's like that's a normal year here in Philadelphia, right? So, but notwithstanding, what'll happen is they'll allow people in those neighborhoods that they're ready to gentrify. And I'm not going to say anything good or bad about gentrification, but they'll allow those people to kill themselves to keep the property values down until they redo it. And so you have to understand how the politics of that works, right? Because there's more police in those areas where people get killed than anywhere else. Those neighborhoods got multiple police stations in them. If they wanted to get rid of the crime, police don't get rid of crime.
Please say that again.
Police don't get rid of crime. I grew
they
up
come
in those
after the crime is committed.
They come after the crime is committed, right? And so what you have to do is create opportunities. When you create opportunities, that's when the crime rate starts to come down, because people have choices, and most people would rather not go to jail when you give them a choice. Yeah. Right. So
part of what you just said is so important, because here's the thing. We live in America, y'all. We don't want a police state. We don't want police marching down the street Gestapo style. And I don't think people understand what that means. They go, well, they got to crack down on this crime. And I'm like, what do you want them to do? Marching 10 by 2 down the street every day?
Police can't stop crime. Police can't stop crime. The more police you put into an area, the more crime will happen, because there's more police there to actually happen to catch it, right? Because the humans are humans all over the planet, right? Yeah. And when you stack humans on top of each other, there's more crime. In bigger cities, there's always going to be more crime because people are near each other. When you spread people out, the crime lessens because they don't have to look at each other every day.
So my perspective on this is it's similar but a little different too. So we grew up around the same time, and there were, statistically speaking, more murders. Now, with that being said, the way the numbers are reported now, it's probably the same. They're just like, they have this huge number of suspicious crimes, suspicious
that they don't report as murders.
Yeah, so it's like they're probably, but with that being said, I agree in essence that the solution isn't just bringing in more of the law. The solution has to be opportunities, but I think it's also a huge mental health crisis here in Philadelphia coming out of this pandemic. And I know this because Corey and I do a lot of work where we speak to schools, we speak at colleges, and one of the things we've been doing over the years is we always speak in the Youth Study Center, which is the prison for the youth here. And when you talk to them and you hear their stories, you're like, it's opportunities, but it's also like no one really talks about the mental health part of living in certain environments.
Even the compact nature of New York, Philly, all these cities. I was trying to explain to people, Atlanta as well, like in Texas. If you live in a house, and this is just, I'm going to generalize here, unfortunately. If you're a Black family, y'all poor, y'all got cousins, extra people in the house, everybody's on this house. The daylight hours where the kids are at school and people are out and about and moving around, it doesn't seem that bad. But if you spend a year where you have forced this family to stay on top of each other in massive contact and they have poverty, you are going to have explosive reactions.
Absolutely.
And it is bad for everyone's mental health.
And the thing about Philadelphia, which is interesting, is if you look at the data, like Philadelphia has more six-figure earners than all the major cities up north, right? But they also have more people living below the poverty line. So when you talk about the haves and the have-nots, that's
the ultimate haves and have-nots.
You even have people here that are doing extremely well or
extremely poor.
We have more poverty than like all the big cities, right? But we also have a lot of opportunity. So now, as being someone who's in real estate, so 2 years ago, I had a property I was flipping, and I put it on the market, and a guy was like, "Okay, I'm gonna come see the property." He said, "Okay, we meet on Saturday." So on Saturday, I met. This guy pulls up in 2 vans. I thought he had like one buyer with him, right? This guy had several buyers with him. He says, "Oh, these are all my clients from Brooklyn," right? So just in the conversation, he's like, "Yeah, we're buying all over Philadelphia because." When you look at New York, you look at DC, you look at Boston, our properties are still relatively cheaper, right? So that's why you hear things like the new New York, because they're buying a lot of our properties because now, and then what happens is the pandemic happens. Yep. So as things start to open back up, we even have more New York buyers now. And I was in a conversation with another New York buyer because I'm rehabbing a property, but I'm going to hold this one. But a New York guy asked me about it, and he's like, "Well, listen, everybody works from home now. So now I can pay the prices. I can get the New York salary, have the Philadelphia prices to live, and I have a lot more money in my pocket. But what's happening by they're doing that is now they're moving the prices up. So eventually, we're going to be following, those cities.
Boston and New York with those ugly prices.
Yeah, so far
ridiculous prices. Every time I see Boston, I'm like, ugh. They're like, come see it again. I'm like, I saw it once. I'm good. Like, it has beautiful architecture, but I just thought for what you're getting offered, I didn't understand it.
Yeah, that square footage, that price per square footage in Boston is
that's like up north. When we go down south, when we see all the land you guys get, we're like, hold on,
So this is why my wife wouldn't buy. So my wife refused to buy a house in Philadelphia because she said, because the house that we bought was like $150 when we bought it.
Yeah,
and we have an acre of land and a 4-bedroom, in a 4-bedroom, in Conroe. And here in Philadelphia, we got a 900 to 1,200 square foot house for that same price.
My wife and I just put an offer on a house. It's like 500, and there's no land. But we do have a rooftop. But but that's either here nor there. But that's the difference though. When you go down south and you see what you can get down there, it's a whole different experience. I remember looking at the prices in Atlanta a couple of years ago. I'm like,
and New Yorkers were complaining even then years ago, right?
Yeah.
So the thing about it, what people don't understand is, and this is what I want y'all to understand. The reason I keep bringing Philly folks on is I said there's going to be a conglomeration of people in certain areas. And people hate that I just talk about boom towns, but I was like 48% of every single house purchased in 2001 was in the Southeast.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I don't think people understand the magnitude of that.
Well, what people don't understand is there's the Southeast, there's the West, and then in the middle of the country, there's really not that many people. No. It's really not that many.
DFW Metro is bigger than 31 states. The population just in Dallas-Fort Worth is bigger than 31 states. So that's why whenever I meet somebody from Dallas, I say, honey, you can do anything here. If you can't do it here, baby, I don't know where you're going to do it.
Yeah, so what people don't understand is like most truckers work on the East Coast because that's where all the commerce is. Like, not that there's not commerce all over the country, but my brother was a truck driver and he drove from Maine to Florida and he was home every, like 3 days a week
or whatever.
Yeah. And so, but the thing about it is there was always routes because there's so many people, it's so much stuff. There's so much things. So he was never out of a job. But when you talk to people in other parts of the country, it's not like that. And what they don't understand is that the population density of the East Coast compared to the rest of the country. And so that's why, Philly and New York and Baltimore and DC and Miami and Atlanta and now the Carolinas are starting to get a lot
Carolina's
of people.
we've been popping for 30 years.
Yeah. No. I'm not saying
high
popping.
School, we had these damn New Jersey kids in high school. I'm like, what y'all doing here?
Yeah, no, it's not. I'm just saying, I'm talking about population wise though. Like the population is starting to boom. Not that the businesses were already running, but not the population wasn't getting flooded like the Raleigh Durham area.
Yeah, we're pretty much, North Carolina had a trajectory of always like a number of 10,000, which is weird. It's like a 10,000 move every year annually for like a long time because we had a certain amount of population retire, military. We had a heavy military state influence, and then people were leaving the mountains hard. Like we had our people leaving North Carolina mountains hard. There was nothing to do up there, and then they refused any help the government wants to imply out there. So North Carolina's numbers are always funny because they're not really tracked right, in my opinion. But
yeah.
But South Carolina, they really be getting up out of there. They be the schools are terrible. Well, and this leads me into the point I was gonna say. Even though we're talking about population density, I feel like we need 1 million Black people retrained for trades, and when I mean trades and tech, I'm gonna go trades. Anything underneath trades for me is a nurse, electrician, a plumber, a mechanic, or any of that.
People that can do things for other people.
Service based, period, right? And then another percentage is tech. And the reason I say 1 million is 1 equals 10. It's if I could find the original theory, I'd go find it. But 1 equals 10. If you have one family member that's a nurse, then everybody want to be a nurse. If you have one family member that's a trucker, now everybody want to be a trucker. Gotcha. You have that one family member that makes 100K. Well, they always have a ebb and flow system of they can help balance out money and family. I'll never forget Lisa Phillips was saying that the moment it shocked her is she has like 6 or 7 brothers and sisters. It's crazy. and her nephew got arrested for shoplifting. Now he could have got a little citation, but they arrested him. And the guy took him in there. He said, "Okay, what's just $250?" Her sister didn't have $250, y'all.
Yeah.
Oh, that happens a lot here.
And the guy was like, "If I'd have known that, baby, I'd have just wrote the boy a citation and sent y'all home." And so she had to Western Union her sister $250 to get this boy out of jail.
Listen, wasn't it Sandra Bland who didn't have like
yep. Sandra Bland didn't have $500.
Yeah,
she got she died because no one around her had $500.
But to me, that doesn't make sense when you have 18 family members. Everybody can't give $50. There's some stuff in our community that, if you really realize that we can't just have one family member be the strongest link, but having 1 million Black people kind of rise up to this occasion will kind of do this.
Set the bar and help other.
Do you think that we like there's a renaissance or we're making progress, or do you think that is it's just our circles?
Have you ever read the book Disintegration of Black America?
I haven't read that one.
Eugene Robinson. Read it. It's a classic. It's 4 groups. Pat Buchanan could even read it. This is 4 groups. It's like the abandonment class, the middle class, of course, the transcendent class, and the translucent class, whatever. The Oprahs, the basketball players, the really, really famous, they up here. They ain't even they're not dealing with daily life what we dealing with. Then you have this emerging class. It's called emergent. That's what it is. Transcending, emergent. The emergent class is 2 groups: business owners, African immigrants, and actually the mulatto class falls in there as well. They are what we see when we on Instagram. We're that emergent business owner class, and we all look at us all this business owner stuff, and the Nigerians is winning and vibing all over Instagram and stuff like that. That's what we're seeing out here on Instagram and YouTube. That middle class is the guy or girl, the Black guy or girl that's just going to work and having a job and living life and going about their day. The abandonment class is what we think is Black culture. Abandonment class are folks who are, back in the day, they'd have been working at a factory and been okay. Back in the day, they'd have married each other and took each other on down the road and been all right. But now they're a problem. We don't have a factory for them to work in. They really weren't paying attention in school. They got idle time on their hands. And they have, we have that kind of, when you see those porch package crimes, people breaking in cars,
quality of life crimes,
poor man crimes,
quality of life crimes, which is what makes a lot of people not live in cities, right? Yeah. Because what they'll say is, I don't want to have to deal with the quality of life stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to have to deal with
I'm definitely going to jump into that. I just got it.
Everybody I meet, I tell them that because as a person who was suburban, like 52% of Black people live in the suburbs. We don't live that life, like suburbs and rural area. No matter what Black people try to say, majority of Black people live in the suburbs and the south of the rural areas.
But that's why I asked the question that way. I'm like, is it just the circles that you are around? Because sometimes what you do is you tend to
live in a bubble.
Yep,
you live in a bubble. All of us are in a bubble. Mm-hmm. So sometimes you get confused by the bubble. But I know what the data says. I get what the data says, but it's like even when we are in areas that are poverty stricken, people are still having conversations about things they just weren't before. At least the interest is there.
Yeah,
but are they having them in a lick conversation, like hitting a lick conversation? Are they having the conversation like
they're struggling? They're struggling. Yeah. They're struggling with the concepts, but they're talking about the concepts. So to move forward, you got to start the conversation, right? Because if somebody's not thinking about something, they ain't doing it. Like, man, if you tell me about doing some Taekwondo, I can't. I mean, listen, I like Taekwondo, but I can't do it. You know what I mean? Because I'm not thinking about it. But if
you're a teacher, I was going to say, sorry to interrupt you about ADHD here. You're a teacher. I remember this teacher saying this, and everybody was offended with her. She said, listen, when I have Black and Hispanic kids in my class, boys, if I can't show them how A equals get me some money B, they ain't trying to hear it. She's like, I'm losing my 12th graders because they want to get out of here.
It's even crazier now with the internet, though, right? Mm-hmm. Instagram, because she was probably not even teaching in the Instagram time.
Nah, this is about 5-6 years ago.
So it's even crazier with Instagram and TikTok right now, right? I have to take my students' phones or they won't do anything. Yeah. They will fixate on the phone. They will perseverate. They will not do anything if they have their phone nearby, right? And so I have to take all the phones. I label them. I literally take sticky notes and put them on my desk so that nobody's phone gets stolen.
Mixed up.
Yeah, but you cannot. If I don't do that, I won't be able to teach anybody, or I'll be able to teach, but nobody will hear me because their minds and their intentions
Mm-hmm.
are inside the phone. They want to be whoever they're looking at on TikTok. They want to do they want to do these weird TikTok dances. They want to do all of the, but my whole thing is their whole focus and attention is on that. But when I say, can you count money? Can you do percentages?
Yeah.
Can you read contracts, right? Because these are the things that you're going to have to be able to do. This is not even talking about work stuff. This is talking about pre-work, right? No matter what you do, if you're an entrepreneur or if you were Betty the nurse dentist, you got to sign a contract, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're an entrepreneur and you're working for somebody, or you're an entrepreneur and you're signing a contract to sell on Amazon or eBay, or you got to understand what that contract says, right? If you don't know your percentages, how do you know how to do arbitrage? How do you arbitrage sell? If you can't do these basic functional things, how do you drive? If you can't
so
read.
My thing is, so what's the answer though? Because they're locked in. Instagram and TikTok have them. Like,
so my answer is to take the phone so that they listen, right? And they call it, and then when they get their phones back, they call the parents and they tell them how much they hate me and they want to see me get fired, and I'm cool because I'm like, that means that I'm getting through, right? Because I'm not there to be liked. I'm there to move them forward, right?
I had 8 male teachers over my course of my school years, which people are like, how? And I said, I lived in military towns, and they were no nonsense. They didn't play. They expected you to do the work. And for whatever reason, we expect teachers to babysit, and that's not their job. What he was saying, the original kind of like, are we seeing it just in our circles? I will tell you personally, I live here in Austin, Texas. All my friends work in tech. And I was talking about, and this is just a random convo, I was talking about dating this guy in construction. They were like, why? There's so many people in tech. Why are you going to date that guy? And it was like they didn't even realize they were doing the bias themselves, right? Everybody they know makes 120, 150, 180. My best friend, I lived with her for 2 years. She literally made 195. She was the most paid woman at Samsung. They marry each other. They get into small circles and they marry each other. So they don't understand. Like if you talk to black people in tech, they'd be like, well, these other black people can just get it together. And you'd be like, baby, wait. Like, how did you get there? Right. And so when I talk about the emergent class, when you say, how do we reach these young people? Unfortunately, it is being on Instagram and TikTok and YouTube. Right. Like, there's a guy called Will Motivation, black guy. Love him. He's very even keeled. He has a SaaS company, software as service. And then he would build one house a quarter and he would sell it and he'd make all this money. He didn't get no views talking about that. He started showing them all these cars. He's like, let me show you how I got my car for 40,000.
Yeah, I know exactly
like,
who you're talking about. I know
How?
exactly
So,
who you're talking about.
Exactly. So eventually what he does is he drips in, hey, y'all, I'm stopping by my house. I build once a quarter. I build a house once a quarter. If you want to learn more, go over here to these videos, right? And it's sad you have to do that, but it's almost like you have to give the medicine with the sweet.
The medicine,
you got to give them,
the question you asked, are they having a conversation? And that's a great question because they're talking about the topics, but they're still looking for lottery tickets, right?
Oh, for sure.
It's the next hot thing. I'm looking for a lottery. I mean, that's what I call it.
I'm looking for a lick.
But listen though, man, like when people been poor so long, if they can hit a lick, that's what they're gonna try to do, right? They don't understand. Like, so the thing is, we know that wealth is built over time, right? And by making good decisions time after time after time after time. But when you're around a lot of people that make a lot of bad decisions, you trying to hit a lick so you can get away from that, right? And so what they don't understand is that if you keep making the right decisions, no matter who else is around you, you're still going to advance and do, you're still going to make progress. But when you're around that much dysfunction, around people who don't make those decisions, it's very, very, very hard to believe that you can make a lot of good decisions in a row and then get out of a situation, right? Especially when one bad decision will derail tens of hundreds of good decisions.
Right.
And so when you make a bad decisions in a black neighborhood and you get punished 50 times as much as when you have resources and you make a bad decision. And so that's why they're looking to hit a lick.
So Corey, I would take that. I would agree 100% what you're saying. Under 25 years old. After 25 years old, society, our community, we can't let you have the same yo-yo stick that you had at 14. We can't let you play that.
Listen, you can put whatever age you want to put on it, right? But it's the fact will still remain, right? Because those people, if you're still in that situation when you're 38, the bad decision making going on around you, you're going to be more likely to make bad decisions, because if their bad decision moves them forward more than your bad decision is, you're going to think it's a good decision, right? So it's like it's environment, right? It's like a snail looking. Like they say, the snail can't see what the giraffe sees, right?
That's like the Outliners book. The Outliners book that black children, they followed for 20 years, not just black children, but poor children that were high level tested and wealthier children that were high level tested. And the wealthier children still did better overall and all because they had the support system and the financials to push up.
I never forget one time Corey and I were speaking in the youth prison, and we was as a kid there.
Exactly
he was brilliant. We were teaching him financial concepts. He got them all. He was brilliant, smart, and he actually went to one of the better schools in Philadelphia. So at lunch we're talking to him. I'm like, why are you here? Yeah, and he said, listen, the neighborhood I come from, he said, I can walk outside and get a gun. I can't get a job or any kind of help with anything else, but I can get a gun just walking out my front door. Right?
He's like, I can jam people for a living easier than I can get a job. That's basically what he told you.
Yeah.
But that young man, and as sad as that is, that young man, that brilliant, how do we get him on a digital remote work path? Because at some point, there's a tipping point where the black community is like, hey, you're not giving us jobs, you're not giving opportunity. There's a lot of remote work. There's a lot of like simple task related work. There's courier jobs. No. But I'm that's my question, y'all. Is like, when do we kind of say, okay, here's the tipping point? Like if Donald Trump wants the tipping point, which I love some Trump because it made people wake up all of a sudden. They're like, hey, what's going on?
This dude is crazy.
Well, not even just crazy. Just how does money really work? Money can get you into the White House. Money gets all your children jobs.
He showed how nepotism is. He showed nepotism at its highest.
Shit, the Bushes.
I'm all for nepotism.
That's the part about Donald Trump I was never mad at. Like if I'm chilling, my kids is going to eat too. Like I don't understand why people were mad at the nepotism. Like, well, he did put them in jobs because he put a lot of unqualified people in jobs that did he put a lot of seriously,
everybody does though. I mean, I don't like any politician. That's my thing, right? So, but outside of politics, get into your question though, right? So that's why we kind of do the work we do, because what I noticed in our community a lot of times is we have a lot of smart kids that come through, but a lot of times when they achieve, they're gone. They don't come back. They take because they see all that bad decision making. Like, I gotta get away from that. They take their resources and they're out of here. They and part of me is like, I can't blame them because they're protecting what it is they have. But then the other part of me is like, if you don't come back at least to show your face or stay, it's like it's hard for other because the thing is, representation matters. Representation absolutely matters, and that's one of the reasons why we do our show, to show that people that look like us are out here doing great things. So representation matters, but a lot of times people that achieve, they're gone. They're just gone. Like most of the most popular Philadelphians aren't even in Philadelphia no more.
I love following Aisha Selden's page when she be out there in California. I'm like, live your dream, live it.
Hey,
enjoy yourself.
Listen,
we went to high school with Ish, and
we all went to high school together.
That's hilarious. Yeah, because it's a small world, really. Yeah, Roberto Blake on the YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
I went to school with him. He lived 2 miles around here from my house, and we ran track cross country together on the same team.
Right? So before me and you had met and we had a relationship, I actually knew who you were from YouTube, and the same with Roberto Blake, right? But that ties into this conversation. The reason I knew who you two were is because you guys were successful on YouTube and you were black. So I'll watch you guys' channel because I'm like, they're doing well on YouTube and they're black, right? That's just an example of representation absolutely matters. So these kids have to see someone that looks like them, that's kind of like, I don't want to say they can touch because you don't have to be there every day, but you still have to show your face and show them that it's possible, because that does a lot.
So I'm trying to figure out, because when I hear let me just give you what I think is going to happen. We got lock 'em up Joe Biden and Kamala in here. Now, I will say this. When Obama was in there, he had the best of the best minorities you could find in every category. I'm not even going front. Like, he picked out everybody that, like, when you read their background, they were
qualified to do anything.
Everything. And it was like they time to shine. So I'm not, I'm not knocking Obama. I just feel like he missed a golden opportunity because he won't really dare to do that. So when you see, and the best way I can say this away, how do we, because this is what I feel is going to happen. You got Kamala, you got Joe in there. You got all this defund the police kind of conversation. I feel like they about to do another round of lock them all up. Lock them all up. Look, they breaking up. Like right now in Texas, they made if you steal 50 packages off a porch, it's a felony. Now you're going to do 5 to 10 years and $100,000 conviction. But think about that. They literally followed this guy on a ring cameras, and he was just hitting the whole neighborhood. So by the time he hit the neighborhood, he had 50 packages. He going to jail.
That's a lot of packages. Like
that's a lot of packages.
That ain't 5 years worth of time, though, dog.
But that's what I'm saying. That's
not 5 years.
I feel like they're building up that case.
That's not 5 years, man.
Y'all about to go to jail.
I don't care what he stole. Listen, man, I don't care what he stole. If he stole, some Adidas, he stole $100,000.
I'm just telling you.
There's white collar criminals that are stealing $100,000 worth of data. They're not
hold on. This is America. We all about property rights. But I agree with you, Ericka. I agree with you. And I had this conversation with someone in Philly. I'm like, part of me feels like this crime that the crime wave, because outside of the murders in Philly, one of the things that I don't know,
carjackings is up.
Our carjackings are up crazy. We had like 24 carjackings 2 years ago. And I think right now
24 this month.
Yeah, it's like crazy. But right now we're like in the several hundreds, right? So the carjackings are through the roof. Just all kinds of things are up. And part of me, here comes this conspiracy theory.
This is not conspiracy, Joe.
But here's the thing, right? Our new police commissioner is a black woman, so part of me feels like, okay, they're going to make her look bad.
To fail.
That's one. Two.
Or they make her be the enforcer because she has
no
choice.
Yeah, one or the other, right? So then two, part of me feels like they're allowing this to happen, so there can be new legislation that's getting passed because some of the people that would generally try to protect them, like don't be too hard on them. It kind of reminds me of the 94 crime bill, right? Yep. So I'm old enough to remember when the 94 crime bill came around.
Everybody was in favor.
Everybody wanted it. Like in retrospect, it's like, you put that through, but at the time, stuff was out of control.
This is the same cycle. It's the exact same cycle 25 and 30 years later.
I've seen this before, and I kind of think, and I think that's the point you were making, like, they're getting ready to have a huge, they
about to lock all you up. And they'd be like, you in jail for stealing packages, brother? You could have been doing anything outside, right? You know what I'm saying? That's why because I could have quit YouTube 3 years ago. I've been like, bump y'all, I'm out of here. But what would happen is I would have an event and people would be up there like, yo, I introduced my grandchildren to stocks. I'd be like crying. I'm like, what? They'd be like, I bought stock shares because I watched your channel for my grandchildren. I got a tech job. I got 100, some girl sent me a thing. I got $127,000 a year job, Ericka. I had to call you. And I'm like, what? Like, and so it like, dang, well, maybe it's making an impact somewhere, right? And so my biggest thing, I'm telling people, I said, look what they're doing. Kamala just said we need 500,000 HB1 visas. Why aren't we in Atlanta, in Philly, in our biggest cities? If you know how Google and YouTube works right now, Google and Facebook work, they go all over to Canada and Mexico and El Salvador. They'll just stick 100 people in a class and train them how to be software developers in 30 days. They'll just hammer them all day. It's like a boot camp. In here, you work for Facebook.
I need to stop you right there.
Go ahead.
You can't stick 100 American kids anywhere in this country and train them in 30 days.
I'm not talking about kids. I'm talking about adults.
You can't. Well, the education system here is so terrible that you can't train anybody to do anything here in 30 days. You wouldn't be able to do that.
Only comparable thing is the one in Minnesota. Technically speaking, if y'all watch her channel, she went to a program in Minnesota and she said who were the most focused people to finish the class because they did it in they had a 30-day wave. They had a test, and if you pass the test, you go to the next 30 days. It was dudes 35 to 42, like 35 to 45, and the black people. They were like, I got to take this class. I got to finish this. I can't go back home. You know what I mean? Like there has to be a level.
You gotta be hungry.
Yeah,
you gotta have to want it, right? So my thing is, even though people are poor, they're not hungry. You see what I'm saying? Because the thing is, they're not hungry because they've been satiated, right? But that's part of that phone in your face. That's that satiation, right? Like they're satisfied with their condition, right?
It's like when you travel and you see someone poor in another country. And you're like, well, the poor people here got iPhones. Like, it's a little different.
Yeah, so that's part of what I was talking about with that satiation that phone gives you, right? It's sitting in your face.
It's
right?
dopamine.
Yeah,
Dopamine.
And they're like, you're teaching and they're like this the whole time. And I'm like, yo, like if you don't.
That's so weird. To me, that's an extra level weird. Even though I know I'm saying it as an older person, but like I get in moments where I have to put my phone, like I was driving the car one time, I was kind of at a car accident. So I started putting my phone in the glove box because I was like, okay, girl, you can't afford to hit nobody and go to jail. Like we can't be doing that.
I got too much money to be running into somebody because I'm answering the text message on the road.
But I mean, if we're being honest, that thing is addictive. Like I grab my phone sometimes, like, what am I doing? I'm not even doing anything, but I have to have it. Like, so I get it. Like I'm glad that I actually was born when I don't have to deal with some of the stresses these kids have to deal with social media.
So this reminds me of something Michael Jordan said. So Michael Jordan said, I would rather drive a motorcycle than a car because in a car, I can put my makeup on, I can eat and do all of that other stuff. But if I'm riding a motorcycle, I have to pay attention to the road.
And I have a motorcycle.
And so what he was saying is it helps me to focus. He said I would rather drive a motorcycle than a car because I like focus. Right. And so he's like, most people like cars because they like safety and they can be distracted. He's like, I would rather be a motorcycle because I'm not distracted. And so when I heard that, I was like, that makes a lot of sense when you think about it. But how do you get people from that car mentality to the motorcycle mentality?
Well, because
wait. Do you know who gets in the most car accidents with the cell phones? Take a guess. What age group? Everybody in the chat, like when this is live, everybody in the chat.
Older people.
What group?
55 and over.
Men 45 to 55.
Really?
Yeah. And they try to blame it on, it's the construction people or it's the contractor guys or it's the UPS guys. And I'm like, nah, that's just numbers of accidents. Like you're older and you're trying to do two important things at the same time. You just can't do it. Even the young people can't do it.
Yeah, they be on IG. They trying to double tap on IG.
Like that. OnlyFans, liking it.
Double tap the peach on IG.
Yeah. But it's interesting though because anytime you take a detox from like that stuff, you feel better. But then once you go back and you start going, it repeats itself all over again, right? So I see why. Not that I really understand it because it's out of control with the kids, like the TikTok thing.
It's out of control.
It's out of control. But I can see
I was watching an episode where dude told me that TikTok was kind of like the new warfare, right? Because they said on TikTok and stuff, and that stuff is banned in lots of parts of the world.
Yeah,
because there's a lot of they said it doesn't have any value, right? And it's like basically you following something that doesn't have any value, and they don't want it on their airwaves because they don't want they don't want their kids like. Only adults can watch that stuff in other countries, right? After they've been programmed as a child. But like that stuff is for like 18 and over in other countries. Whereas here, our kids is eating this stuff and it's feeding their brain absolute garbage. It's like feeding your kids
because you can get caught in a trap. It's almost like everybody knows about the YouTube trap. Like I'm watching Kobe highlights and now it's 2:00 in the morning. I'm watching like a lion chew deer or something. Like I'm like, how did I get here? Right? TikTok has that same trap where you're just swiping up. And you're swiping up the next thing, and next thing you know, hours went by, and you're like, "What am I doing?"
That's what the metaverse is going to be too. It's going to be the same thing.
Well, metaverse, Diamond Dave, go check out Diamond Dave because y'all know each other. He made a video in his Laws of Game, and he was talking about how some people already escaped to the metaverse. Let's, and I'm gonna say this, and again, give me all the angry. I feel it. I know I'm gonna make this a clip anyway. We have a segment of men, but I'll say women too. We have a segment of men who have like given up. Like, okay, I'm not gonna get what I want, so I'm gonna come on this internet and vent and act crazy and do 5 and 6, 7, 8 hour hangouts. And I'm not even talking about Kevin because Kevin actually goes out and lives his life. I actually know him. But there are people who already doing that. They already living in the middle. Like there's the running joke on Instagram is when they see somebody background of their pouch, like, where do you live? Where you live in a hole? Where you live? Your apartment is terrible. Like they're making fun of these people because they're like, why are you on the internet cutting up when you really need to not even be living where you live in? Right. So we already have people who've mentally left. Like, hey, you know what? I'm just gonna get my food delivered to the house. I think this guy on TikTok showed where his whole wall, everybody's had flyers on their door And it was 3 days later, the flyers were still all over the doors. And he was like, so you ain't came out your house in 3 days? Like, what's going on?
And I guess the pandemic kind of like ramped that up. Like it kind of, you know, more
It made people
normalized that.
comfortable with not being, you know, interacting with other people, physically interacting with other people. So there's a difference between interaction and, you know, online interact. Like if you say if you call me certain names on my face, you might get backhand slap. I might pimp hand, you know, my pimp hand might get strong. But if you say it to me on the internet, you know, my best option is to ignore you. You know what I mean? So, you know, people get used to that though. You know what I mean? Like
I be telling people pull up. I'm like, come to the office, pull up.
You gotta stop doing that. And that's something Jim had to make me realize, right? Because I was that same person. Like,
I go to conferences and I go places and I go, if you are a person doing what you say you're doing, pull up on me. I'm here. Talk to me in person. Like,
okay, you saying talk to me. See, I don't want to talk.
You know what I'm saying? Listen, I can't fight. I'm from the suburbs. That's why I carry the pew pew pew. I'm like, I ain't trying to fight you now.
A lot of the folks that talk that stuff, they don't even have like avatars, right? It's the
those is Chinese and Russian bots.
Well, I'll put it this way. I went on O'Shea Duke Jackson's channel, and it was like when I had a partnership with somebody that did credit repair, and we had like 600 people sign up. I was like, dang, we rich, y'all, right? Half the men were in their mid-30s and like, yeah, you know, I just over there. I love that show, but I'm getting married. I'm starting to need my credit cleaned up so I can go buy this house. And so it's like over half of the men that even signed up weren't like, oh, we just talking crazy online. We ain't for real about that. And so that's why I laugh about a lot of that stuff, because I'm like, y'all living in a metaverse already. You know what I'm saying?
It's a metaverse. It's sort of a metaverse already. That's kind of crazy though.
Yeah. So I mean, what happens is, I mean, they're escaping to that. They're already escaped to the phones. Now they're escaping to that. Man, the future looks kind of crazy right now.
Well, the reason I keep saying tech and trades is this guy said, if you look at the numbers of when I was driving in Austin, in the manhole, it was 2 old white men in this manhole climbing. I said, now if them 2 people fall down, who's going down to get them? Like, I was really in traffic concerned. Like, this the best we got. There ain't no young guys on the team to climb down. These men like 70 years old, right? Like, what are they still doing?
Ain't no young person climbing down no damn holes,
right? So my biggest thing I tell people is, we got a generation, like people kept saying, Ericka, how are you running around talking to people about buying their business and stuff like that? And I go, you got a whole generation of boomers that are 65. They're ready to go home.
Yeah.
They not hiring and training new people to replace them. They just like, take it out. I'm going home. And so if the average plumber's, 41, the average construction guy's 56, the average farmer's 62, like we are going to have to either have the millennials or the Gen X literally pull up and take over these jobs, or we're gonna have to have a massive immigration. And that's why I see Kamala saying, yeah, let's get half a million visas. When daggone well chain immigration, they're gonna bring 12 family members with them, and the 500,000 turns into 7 million people.
Yeah, that's interesting, because you're right. Like there are a lot of like trades and professions where the average age is high 50s, 60s.
But the thing is, and this is what Donald Trump saw, right? He understood this, right? Because his wife is a chain migrant. Right, so,
she had her parents there for 20 years just chilling.
So like, he understands that whole process, right? And so that's why he was talking about this America First thing. But there's a lot of jobs that migrants will do that Americans don't want to do, and the migrants will do them without any kind of questions, without fail, and then move on and to do other things. Like, the thing I like about migrants is when they come here, they don't get stuck. Like, when they doing something, they're doing it for a purpose. They got to focus behind what they're doing, and they don't get stuck. And so they if they got to work in a poppy store for 10 years and then sell it to their cousin, but after their 10 years, they done made $1 million in our neighborhoods, and then they out. Or if they're cutting lawns and they're doing, like, I just flipped 2 bandos to these Mexicans here in the city where I'm at. They took them joints in ratty condition, and I'm talking about ratty. I put them joints the rattiest of ratty conditions. I thought I was gonna have to hold them joints forever to sell them or do some improvements. They said, no, we will take your ratty whatever, because we're going to do all the work ourselves. Yep. So what price do you want for them? They didn't even care. I was like, give me $20,000 for these joints. The roof wasn't even on it. Yeah, and they gave me 20 racks for it. Well, so what I'm saying is, like, these migrants, they bought this business.
They bought that life.
They bought that life. Like, and it makes me look at American, like how we do things and how I'm not going to say spoiled because we're not spoiled. It's something
entitlement.
Well, conditioned. I think we're conditioned.
It's conditioned to look at, especially Black people, because of slavery, we're conditioned to look at that kind of work as kind of like slave work. And I'm like, I don't want it. Like a lot of us don't want no part of that. Like
manual labor.
Like my ancestors did that. I don't want no part of that. But the thing that they don't understand is if you don't toil the fields, if our ancestors didn't toil the fields, they didn't eat.
Yeah.
If they didn't do.
Carter G. Woodson talked about this in the Miseducation of the Negro, right? But the thing is, I think that we've been like brainwashed because, right, when you go look at what wealth looks like, we've been told this picture of what wealth looks like, and a lot of times that's not it. Like, some of the I knew were construction guys who owned buildings, and they would come home, But the thing is, when we watch anything in pop culture, our music, everything we consume, we're taught about like this white collar thing, but that's not what a lot of wealth doesn't look that way.
No, first of all, majority of it's blue collar.
Yeah, exactly. First, that's why
millionaires.
Blue collar millionaires. That's what it is. But we've been sold this bill that these aren't the things you do. We've been forcing all of our kids into higher education for that reason,
and forcing them into debt.
Even when we know they're not college material,
without any reconciliation, right? Because that was the lie that was told to our parents, and so they told it to us, right? Because the thing is, that was the way to get into the kind of jobs you want.
To be rare.
Yeah, because the thing is, a college education used to be rare, and now that when Black people start flooding the college ranks, then now the rarity of the degree went down. And so now when more people have degrees, now you got people with doctorate degrees and they talking about $20 an hour to work with a doctorate degree.
It's not. Oh, I'm being careful here. If you look at historically at colleges and actually PWIs, they did a study like second generation Black kids that go to college and their parents went, graduated, they don't go for anything English communication. They don't do any of that. They go for actual STEM related degrees.
They go get some money.
And so I think what happened is we had a generation of Black people that came in with the communications in English, and the next generation should do something different, right? But I have a very strong push against Black people going, and I'll be careful how I say this, but like education, because I feel like we could take a bunch of these kids that really aren't college material and go send them to community college for 6 months, get a certificate, and put them in the workforce. Workforce.
I think it's about the strategy with it, right? So for me, I'm not anti-college or pro-college. I think it depends upon the kid.
If they have a plan.
But I know
have a plan.
In my generation, like everybody was trying to kind of force I knew kids that were amazing with their hands that some of the best mechanics but it was like, no, you can't do that. You have to go to college. And it come out.
We're all in our mid-30s here. They had like a thing called college. No,
we're not all in our
mid-30s. Well, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, we're
in our mid-40s. We're in our mid-40s.
Young 40s. But anyway.
So we got Gen X in the building, and we
got
Gen X. Millennial in the building. So when I was in school, they had two tracks, and it was called the college track and the what's it called? It was like fast graduation or something track. Yeah. And when I looked at school, they put all these Black people in the fast get out, education track. And I was like, what's going on? They could skip school the last 2 hours of the day because they had no more classes for them. I was in the college track and I was taking a Spanish class and this other class. I looked up on colleges in North Carolina, the next 4 years in North Carolina college, you could not go to college unless you had a Spanish or like some type of foreign language and it's one other class. So all these thousands of Black people that could have went to school couldn't because they got on this track so they could get out of school early in the afternoon.
Wow.
So when North Carolina tried to say, well, y'all asked us to get these kids graduated that weren't going to college, we did. Now you're mad because we put your son or daughter, and this should have been discussed with your parents. Is your child getting out at 1 o'clock after lunch and going to work? And their senior year of school? Cool. Is your child going to college? They need to be, the next 2 classes, they need to be doing their Spanish and their other thing.
Yeah,
and I was at AP classes. I was already done. I was already
one of the community colleges too, because what you said is absolutely correct. Like they have to be used as part of the strategy, right? Even just to keep costs down. Community colleges are amazing.
Yeah, I graduated from a community college before I went to a 4-year college. Even though I went to a 4-year college first, failed out, came back. I went to the military, then graduated from a 2-year college, then a 4-year college.
You feel like that military got you right.
Yeah, well, sort of. Like I did.
Listen.
I'm going to say this.
Yeah.
Half the city of Philadelphia wanted me dead, and if somebody in Philadelphia wants you dead, it's way safer to be in the military than where I was at.
This is the problem with that, right? Because there's over 700 careers in the military, and a lot of times when I hear stories of people like, I just took the first thing smoking and got out of town, they don't have a great military experience. Everybody in our family goes through the military first. They are not allowed. The boys, I'm not gonna tell y'all the truth. All the boys in our family are pretty much said, hey, here's your paperwork, here's your ASVAB, you're gonna study for it. This is where you're going first. You're not gonna waste money. You're not gonna go to college and play off.
Oh, I had a great job in the military.
Yeah,
but it was the most dangerous job there. Well, one of the most dangerous jobs. So I was a commo tech, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I helped to set up the field and home location satellites and all that kind of stuff. So I didn't have a grunt job.
Yeah, good job.
But the thing about that job is when the opposition goes to kill people, what is the first thing they
people
go to
climbing
kill?
up the rope? Oh, who that guy? Pow.
Yeah, they go to kill the commo, and then they try to kill. They cut off supply lines, right? So that's the first two things they try to get rid of. So my job was actually very, very dangerous, but it wasn't. In the military, it's considered a good job, but when you really have to do the job, like, what the hell is going on out here? Like, people getting killed out this joint. So, like, you know what I mean? Like,
we had cousins come out and they were able to waive certain engineering tests and like basically take a little entry baby test and go get engineer jobs. And so when I be like, black men, take the ASVAB serious, right? Or we had a cousin who was in the Navy and he wanted to do this navigator or it's a particular level on this track. And they were like, you sure? They kept pressuring him. You sure you want to do this? He's like, yes, I do. I done told you that's what I want. So he goes up there. He's on one part of the ship. It's all white guys and two black guys. Him and two black guys. He goes on the second part of the ship where they didn't pick this track, and it's all black people on the bottom of the ship. And he's like, "Holy crap!" Like so like I have my issues with the military. I have my issues with how they segregate folks in the service. You know what you're getting out of the service, but you also have to send your kids out there in the world aware. Like, hey, you go in the service, it's a good deal. You're gonna get this GI Bill. You're gonna live well when you come back. But what are you doing while you're there?
Yeah, man.
This is true.
I had a mixed experience. I'm not going to say it was a terrible experience. I had a very, very mixed experience in the military. Because my contract, I didn't pay attention to my contract. I was 20 when I went in, and I didn't get anything I was promised.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, so that jaded my experience of going into the military. But if they had given me what they had promised to give me, my experience would have turned out totally different. I spent a lot of time fighting for something that they promised me going in, but I didn't know. My recruiter was a POS, and all the things that he promised me in recruiting never showed. When I got to my first destination base and I looked at my contract, none of that stuff was there. So,
but what you just said about your family, though, I think that's the importance of having someone that comes before you that can help you. You said you have a lot of people in your family that have went through that track. Yeah. And it's the same, but it's the same thing whether it's college or the military. Having someone that went before you that can tell you like certain things is very important. So I think that might be the difference.
Yeah. Well, we have there is a member in our family who's fought in every single war all the way into the Civil War. Right. Wow. So, and then historically we're Indian on one side. And so the lady who owned the plantation, you know what I mean? Like was, Indian, and two of the slaves were her family, like her husband and her son. So just crazy history, but you know what I mean? So, but my mom was like the last, like, like every family member has sons that go. My brother, me and my sister did not go. She's like, y'all let my tree down. We're like, sorry, like there's been enough blood. We put enough blood in the soil. We put enough years. No, for sure.
Military. Y'all did what y'all had to do. You know what I mean? Again, I have mixed feelings about that because of I have feelings about imperialism that I don't want to share on on your airwaves.
For sure, we'll do that on an after hours conspiracy.
Yeah.
Well, I would say this. The difference in young men who go out and live and come back. And when you meet, there's one young guy I know right now. He's 27. He came to work. He's such a just diligent doing his work. They made him the manager, and everybody's like, "How he's the manager?" And he's just like, responsibility. Like, y'all be responsible. Like, Like simple tasks at work. You know what I mean? You can tell the difference.
You will learn.
You can feel it.
You will learn to be responsible because you're responsible for other people's lives.
Mm-hmm.
And so the one thing in the military says, you are your brother's keeper, right? Because if you mess up, you might not just kill you, you might kill you and the 3 people next to you.
Yeah.
So I got into a lot of trouble about that because there were a lot of whiners there in the military, like there are anywhere else.
Yeah.
And so they used to cry when people yelled at them. And I'm like, yo, dog, if you're going to cry when somebody yells at you, what are you going to do when someone shoots at you?
That's a very sheltered life.
Yeah, I'm like, so this might not be for you. You might want to call somebody, call your state rep, call somebody and tell them get you up out of here. And so I got into a lot of fights about that. And that's another part of my military experience that I don't want to really talk about.
All right, man, stop quick because you about to because you
gotta stop it.
It wasn't a bad experience for me. It was a bad experience for the other people that were involved.
Jimmy's like, I done heard these war stories. I ain't gonna
because you see they got he's having little flashbacks right now.
So man, like no, but the military was like I said, it serves a purpose, right? You will learn responsibility. You will learn how to, get up. You will learn how to do. You will learn how to do things you don't want to do, right? Because you have to do them. You will do the things you have to do because you know you have to do them.
Yeah.
Right. There's no mindset that says that I'm going to put this off to tomorrow because that's nothing. You never do that in the military. You never put off anything that you could do today because if that's the task that you do. Right. And so that's what you learn there. And like you said, when you see young men come back from that and they've actually taken that in, it's something totally different. And so I will say, as far as training, you can't beat what the military does as far as training.
So because we done got our assignment in, and we done got y'all, we done got all around. Now we're gonna loop it in because I know we're gonna probably break this video in half, but that's okay. I'm cool with that. By the hood. What is this? Where did this come from? Why did this start? Why by the hood? What's this
all
about?
Right. So originally, like I was telling in the beginning, so my background was in like real estate and finance. Mm-hmm. So I had the idea of I would literally do community events and do speaking engagements where I would talk about the power of owning our own neighborhoods and the value in our neighborhoods and seeing value in our neighborhoods before anyone else did. Because being in real estate, I was, I did pretty well. And I wanted everybody else to do it. I'm like, you guys don't see it because and what I recognize, there's a lot of trauma and things that come with real estate. So people tend to not see the value in our neighborhood until someone else does. So that's how By the Hood started.
Oh, that's my dude, Michael. Okay, go ahead.
Sorry. Yeah. Michael just had him on our podcast. So Corey and I went to high school together. We went to Central High. Shout out to everybody from Central. So it's Ish was there too. A lot of great people went to Central. So
all the famous folks.
So Corey went to education and we were having a conversation and I'm like, well, I want to reach more people in terms of the education part. Let's partner up because Corey's a master teacher. I watched him in the classroom. Like, I don't know how he does it. So the first thing that we did was we created a By the Hood ownership camp for the youth. So for the last 6 years, we've given a free camp every summer. You can go to bythehoodcamp.com to get information about it, but we've given a free camp for the youth in the summer. For the first 5 years, it was actually on the ground.
In person.
Yeah, in person. And then this last year we put it online because of the pandemic. But
y'all was outside in Philly. Texas and Florida get all the flag in Atlanta. But y'all was out there doing street parties, dancing on cops.
They was wilding out a little bit.
Now.
Yeah, they was wilding out a little bit, but we played it safe, so we moved it online. But so now so now that Corey and I have partnered, we have an education platform. So we try to help adults as well as the youth learn about the power of ownership. And we've had a lot of success with that. It's just like you. Sometimes you feel like I don't want to do it because me and you were having a conversation. I'm like, well, social media, I have a love-hate relationship with it.
Yes.
Right? Because I feel like, okay, I got to get something on the page today, got to do this. But we're still practitioners. So anything that we talk about in terms of real estate, we're doing. So I'm like, some of these folks must not be doing that because they be online.
What they doing?
They're like, yo,
you finding all this time?
This morning you was online. This afternoon you online. You doing 5-hour hangouts.
Yeah,
when you doing 100 calls a day for wholesaling? When you doing it?
Exactly. So but at the end of the day, though, we've had a level of success. So By the Hood started as just about the properties in the neighborhood, but it became something much bigger than that. we like to tell people that buy the hood actually means black love. When we say buy the hood, we mean buying into each other and showing love to each other, because we feel like a lot of the reasons and a lot of the issues that we talked about, even this last hour, we talked about in this conversation, it actually goes back to how we see each other, right? Because we feel like if I look at you as my sister and Corey as my brother, even if we disagree on something, it's never going to go but so far. And I think that
we love each other.
Yeah, because a lot of times in our community we lack love, so that's kind of what we do, and we try to have fun. So everybody has their thing within as it pertains to finance, but we like a lot of the memes. We like to have fun as we're teaching. So it's kind of what you said. The medicine
memes are educational.
Yeah,
Wall Street bets came
so it's
here.
like,
Come on now.
It's what you said. It's like the medicine and the candy approach, right? So that's kind of what we do with the memes and our social media. So we have fun with it, but it's been an amazing journey, and we've touched a lot of lives. So even when you feel like you just want to get away from it, you'll get a message like, hey, especially with us working with the kids, we have kids that walk up to us on the street that have portfolios now. And they're like, Mr. Jimmy, look at my phone, look at my portfolio. And we teach kids ages 5 and up. So we have 5-year-olds, believe it or not, that can run their own portfolio, know how to break down a company. And the thing is, like, people say, well, they're 5 years old. But when you challenge someone, a lot of our kids are brilliant, but they're not even challenged enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so,
man, that's, I'll be wanting to. I taught somebody's class. I ain't gonna say his name, no disrespect. And he had like 1,000 students in there. I was so excited to teach this man's class. I'm in there teaching them, and they was just talking about pothead stuff. Like I have this ideal about a dispensary, and it's like I was like, oh my god, these are people's parents. Holy shit, this is somebody's mom and dad. No wonder these kids is like zombies, yo. Like mom is pot out.
You wild out,
She's 37 talking about opening the dispensary in a state where it's illegal. Like, is she for real right now? So ever since I trained that class, like, and read that book, Eugene Robinson, Disintegration of Black America, I keep telling y'all about this book. He owed me royalties, okay?
Listen, I bought it when you said it. I already bought it.
Because I promise you, there is a group of Americans out there that you wake up, you like, I did not know these people existed, right? I just didn't think they existed, right? And so even I want to salute on this one poster. It says, marriage is a cheat code. I'm going to just tell you, nerds and married folks is winning. When you saw this pandemic and they had houses and they could take the equity out their house and they could go hop and make decisions, or even like I saw Surviving Vegan, like they work together. Let's put these posts up. Let's sell these herbs and all this stuff. Like it is teamwork makes the dream work. And people I don't think people really touched into it until 2020, because marriage rates actually, people applying for licenses went up 24% in 2020. Every other group other than Black people. Every age, every group.
She saved the punchline. So
I know it's terrible. It's like every age, every group was like, oh
no, but it's true though, because like so Corey and I also have written a book. It's called Own Your Time and Space, right? And one of the things about it is, like, when you talk about time, when you're married and you guys let me put it this way too. It's not just about marriage.
It's not about just marriage.
You gotta be on the same page. You gotta be on the same page. But if you are on the same page, you're literally you're creating time. You're creating time because you're working towards a common goal. And now you have two people working towards that goal versus one. It's simple math, but a lot of people don't understand that. But you got to find someone on the same page.
Yeah, I mean, what ends up happening is I go to this thing called Apex Entourage, and I'm just gonna go there. I'm a businesswoman, but I'm not like a boss lady chick. I enjoy having somebody who can spend time with you. So I go to these events because I'm like, one, the energy in the room and the people are on a mission. So it's so funny. I will go there. I'll be dressed up nice, go there. And some dude's like, hey, what you doing today? I'm just here at this event. What, you want to do dinner? You single? You got kids? You married? No. Okay, well, let's go to dinner. And it's so funny because people are like, oh, that's so direct, Ericka. And I'm like, that's what I like, because you're going to have a busy man or a broke man. You got to babysit one or just enjoy the other. Like, there are people who are on a mission out here. And and it just always cracks me up because I just know several girls who have, like, one left Boston to move to Charlotte. She done got married. One girl to move. Like, people be moving because that man be busy. Okay. And so I just want people to understand, like, unfortunately, our community is like, we on this hamster wheel talking about this silly concept that we know, hands down, we look over our married cousins and our family members who, like, damn, they doing pretty good right now.
Yep.
Especially the nerds. Like, if you a black nerd, listen.
Man, listen,
Robert can
nerds
tell you
are
back in school how they was treating me and him and other folks. Like,
nerds are winning right now.
I tried to tell the young boys in my school, I said, all the cool dudes you got in here is going to be working for you in about 15 years. They all going to be working for you.
Listen,
because you're
winning.
going to go make the right decisions.
Everybody ain't going to make it. No.
And then, they're going to continue to be cool.
Mm-hmm.
But cool don't make money. Cool don't make money.
Yeah.
Right? Good decisions make money. Right?
Listen,
good.
We've seen it though, right? I grew up in inner city, and I have certain people that, you know, were the cool kids that, you know, even I at some point looked up to, and now they're doing bad out here. Like, so it's one of those things where
compound effect. What they've been focused on.
The compound, but see, what people don't understand is that bad decisions compound the same way that good ones do.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. We always talk about the compound of good things, but not bad.
Compound interest work both ways, right? It doesn't just work one way, right? When you stacking money, compound interest works both ways, right? When you make bad decisions, them joints compound, right? So when you make
or they take a longer time to turn around.
That too.
That's
part of the compound effect, right?
But as you said earlier, Corey, you can make 20 great decisions, and one bad one can negate all 20.
All 20 of them good decisions.
Ask Beyonce daddy, you know what I'm saying? No. Oh, man. Bam hammer. Listen, I'm telling you, when you move to Houston, which you be Conroe, you will learn how much of a legend her father is and how much real estate
my wife already told me.
And how
my wife already told me.
This man was set up to be doing speaking engagements the rest of his life on how well he navigated all this. And that one kerfuffle with his baby Beyonce's mama, it took the legs out from that man. And that man's like, he sold millions of dollars. And you're like, before Beyonce, like he was I
was in Houston,
black powerhouse.
Someone told me that he was already a legend before his business, which he became. Someone said he was a millionaire before Beyonce did anything. I was like, really?
He had the money to have them homeschooled and them trained by dancers. And also taking the other girl, Kelly Rowland.
He set them all up. He set them all up for success. My man was already a legend. So I already knew about him. Well, actually, I knew about him. Like, so Destiny's Child actually was the performing group when I was graduating from out of the military. When I at my first base, I was in I was in Oklahoma, Fort Sill. Yeah. I was in Fort Sill.
Oof,
and pretty much. And they are graduating at Destiny's Child because they were there, and he was there, and he, you know, like the people from down there, they were just fawning over him. I was like, who is this dude? And then they introduced me to his work and what he did. I was like, oh.
But see, that's proof that resources, that's proof that, like, you know,
resources matter.
Resources matter, right? So
Master P. Granddaddy died. Yes. Listen, Master P, who y'all think Jay-Z is. I'm so sick of New York. Master P is really who y'all think Jay-Z is. It's something about the South. Y'all be discounting us. I'm like,
no,
Master
don't
P
say yo.
Everything.
So we love P, man. He's one of our you know work heroes. If you want to say that, you know what I mean. Like P get busy. We don't got no hate for P.
Because again, I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of nepotism. I like the way he puts his family on. Like
I love the way he put
his son got that $2 million and then dipped up out that school.
Yeah. Like, listen,
he went to the HBCU and then got that money, and then
I don't get mad at nepotism. I just feel like we should practice it more.
Yeah.
Listen, when I went to college and there was white kids, they were partying up, living it up, cutting up. I remember that boy went home and he got all these clients because his daddy owned an insurance company. And it was like he literally parsed them off clients and he was on the road running. And what I felt about Donald Trump coming in is black people finally got it. Like, damn, if I don't put something together for my children, it's not going to be here. And it's like that in every other country. If y'all really go outside this country and visit places, like you work where your parents have provided for you.
Yeah.
You eat what you kill. Like you don't get these, I'm gonna go over here and do it at this bank. No, you're not, unless you know somebody.
Like to the point of resources mattering, like when you have resources, you have the time to even dream. When you look at these big tech companies, right? Most of their founders come from upper middle class families.
Yep.
Because their parents had the resources to allow them to even dream about doing some of the things they're doing.
Yeah, they wasn't out here dodging bullets. They was in there creating Google.
But this the thing. Most black people ain't out here dodging bullets unless they're at the booty club on the weekend, right?
Man.
They ain't. Majority of black people, and this is why I always bring on people from Philly because I really want to be like, let's talk. What's going on out there? Because majority of black people are living very suburban lives.
That's now, but you got to think about
94 and on.
So what I'm saying, no, that's not even true because you got black people. The vast majority of black people live in big cities, and so you can't say
52% live in the suburbs and rural areas. It's been like that for. It's been like that for over I'd say 21 years. They've been tracking it for a long time now. And before that, it was bigger. It was a bigger number.
So what's happened is that these big cities have started absorbing these suburbs, and so you can't even. Like Houston used to be half the size it is now. Like
it's 11 counties, yeah.
Yeah, like what Houston is now 15 years ago, half of that stuff was some other township or county or something. You know what I mean? So, like Philadelphia has started to do that. It's not just Philadelphia, it's Philadelphia and surround. They started to count surrounding counties. Everything that touches Philadelphia is because they're all using that resource pool. And so they'll start to pull the numbers from all of those counties along with Philadelphia when you start to do things. And so you have to look at when they say suburban lifestyle, even though you might live outside the city limits and technically live a suburban lifestyle, you're still kind of city living because you're still pulling off the resources.
Some of those are annexed. Some of those are annexed that you're talking about. The difference between an annexed place and which we could do a whole nother boring show on that. We'll do a whole nother show on that, y'all. But the only reason I said that is I was sitting one time, and this is like a one segment, and I respect and honor and enjoy Wall Street Trapper because I actually got to see him up close and personal right before he took off, and like Hood Estates and all that stuff. And I was like, wow, like you really hungry to learn. So good. But he did a speech one time in Ox Hill, Maryland. And it was a room full of suburban black folks. And it wasn't hitting. They were like confused. Why are you doing that? That's silly. Why are you doing that? Like you could see them lost in the conversation. But then he went to another level where more people could see him. And then there was this identification of like, yes, that's my story too. So there are black people living that life for sure. 100%. But there is a segment of, in my opinion, if you read the book, middle class black folks, mainstream black folks, what they call it mainstream in the book, that are just overlooked, right? Like we see all these teenagers trying to be hood because that means black. If I don't act hood, then I'm not black. Like it just blows my mind. You know,
we're not a monolith. We come in all sizes, shapes, forms, fashions, educate. Like we're there's you can't define blackness by one thing. You just can't.
Yeah, there's classes to it, and I think we get overlooked and kind of like, oh, this like hood horrible story, and I'm like, the majority of us ain't living that. So that's my whole argument about getting these people into tech, getting these people into real estate. What's the real holdup? Like I'm doing a kind of series on it because people will be like, oh, I live in Charlotte, it's too expensive, or I live here in Atlanta's terrible on pay, and I go look up the pay. I'm like, well, they paying nurses, right? They paying electricians, right? They paying plumbers, right? They pay like everything that's a significant career. They are paying what is the correct amount. So what do you do?
It's the understanding of why, right? So people don't understand why you're saying what you're saying in terms of like us having this rush to be in the tech, to be in the real estate, right? And it's because there's so many distractions around. We already had a long conversation about what's going on social media. There's not a lot of people promoting that thing right there, in terms of where we need to be in that space.
That's our sisters and our brothers right there at the Black
I'm just sharing all your guys.
Yeah. So we have a collaborative project, with the Ivy investor.
I know she's cool people.
Kamari.
Hey,
Tracy. I just saw you on Kamari's show too. That was amazing.
Yeah, we did some interviews. Some more that's coming out. Yeah, even amazing. The Deion Sanders thing, he created a lane over there.
Yeah, he did. Yep. He made it cool. He made it cool for the rich people to come to the HBCUs and help out. Well, I love Deion for that. No, what I'm saying is they was already helping out, but what I'm saying is he made it cool, right? It's a difference between it being done and then it being cool because then now it's the wave now. Yeah. It wasn't the wave before. You see what I'm saying?
Remember when what's his name? Dr. Dre gave $30 million to UCLA, and they're like, dude, what are you doing?
Yeah, like why would you give it to
doing?
UCLA? Like that's bigger
a
than the
drop in a
endowment
bucket.
fund. That's the endowment fund for 100 different HBCUs. Like literally, there might be 8 to 10 HBCUs with an endowment fund bigger than $30 million. Yeah. You literally could have tripled the size of 50 different HBCUs with that same $30 million.
Who's having that conversation with him? And that's my thing. My thing is a lot of times
he's out there in that LA culture though.
Yeah, when you talk to people from all walks of life, what you recognize is that, again, to our earlier point, a lot of us live in our bubbles, right? Mm-hmm. And a lot of us don't see how everything connects. We don't see how, you help this one thing and what it does to this other thing here. We don't see how things connect. So
wait, real quick before you go on. What's up with? Let's look at the curl out here, y'all. Look at him in the photo. Girl, Corey out here like Ivy's like, come look at it. Just because I know them, I'm like, all right.
This is like the most fire mixtape that ever was.
Come on, what y'all got going on?
Like the Fugees out there, like we about to
What's happening? Hold on, hey Peter, cut this part. Make this second part of video. Okay, go ahead. That's my answer. Yeah,
mini. Out there like the food.
Yeah,
just like what is happening? Okay. Can we spin if y'all have the time? Do y'all have like another 15 minutes?
No, come on, let's go.
Yeah. Sure. Okay, so on the back end, because this has been a long, we're gonna chop this video up a couple different ways, but we're gonna put the whole thing out too. Cryptocurrency. Now I'm gonna tell you, this is my biases. I got my biases. You got black people who ain't been paying attention forever, and you like, hey, buy a house, get you some land, get a good paying job, put your money somewhere, be smart about it. They like, yo, look at this shit coin. And then they're like, I'm putting $500 in here. I'm gonna hit rich, and you're like, wait. Like, even if crypto takes off, you still need real world footprint out here.
Yes.
Like your grandma still needs something. Your taxes bill has to be paid. Like housing is an issue, not because people say, oh, it's affordability. No. It's just because we haven't owned it. We're not owning it. And people say, well, redlining and the history, and Ericka, you don't understand. I say, this is what I ask people whenever they go there. Yes, we know appraisers are doing shady stuff. Yes, we know redlining happened. Yes, all these things I acknowledge. But if I ask you in the past 5 years, have you got pre-approved for a home? It's like crickets drop. And these be 40-year-old people. Like nothing. They like pre-approved.
Can I say that I haven't been pre-approved for a home in the last 5 years? I bought.
But you got the slick hookup. Come on, Corey. Come on, man. Come on, Corey. You out here with the backwards hat, getting the deals. Come on, man.
Your point is like, again, I agree with you. Everything, and I'm still on your line because you said it when you were on our podcast, but I loved it so much that I've been using it since. All roads lead back to real estate, right? And I understand that because as much as I love crypto, and first of all, another thing is this too. I'm anti lottery ticket culture.
Yes, I am.
So a lot of the memes I'm talking about people buying these shit coins and chasing lottery tickets because the one distinction is you have Bitcoin and then you have everything else. And because I think that those are two different things. I think you have Bitcoin, then you have cryptocurrency, which are two different things. But even beyond that, there is value there, and that I do believe it's the future. But with that being said, the land is still important, right? One of the biggest REITs right now is digital. What's a digital realty trust? Is the name of
DLTR. Something
DLTR. Like that. All they do is provide. DLTR is a stock. And this is, by the way, this is not investment advice. But I
always was, disclaimer. Yep.
Yeah. But I was watching them over the last couple of years. They specialize in providing places for people to put their cloud storage, right?
Yep.
And they're going.
That's all they do.
They're going through the roof right now because it still comes back to land, even as it pertains to crypto. But I do think that there is value in crypto, but I think lottery ticket culture is the problem because even if we talk about the stock market, which a lot of people understand the value in the stock market, owning companies, things of that nature. But then sometimes when you talk to people who started investing, they're looking at penny stocks and things that really like, what are you doing?
That got me in college, right?
Penny stocks. Penny stocks got you?
Our professor taught us how to. He's like, listen, you went to my beginning microeconomics class. Come to my other ones. I'll teach y'all whatever y'all want to learn. Teach y'all to buy houses. Teach y'all stuff. And he did. Like girls in there bought houses. They did cool stuff. And then like he taught us stock market because he was just in there goofing off on his time. Okay. Yeah. And literally, I was like, yo, I'm up $8,000, yo. And I took $4,000 out of the account. I'm like, I'm rich. And then the next week, whoosh. And then years later, I got in the mail. It was like, "Hey, we got these people. We arrested them. SEC documentation for pumping them." I was like, "What? Huh?
Damn.
Damn!"
Yeah.
Like
But
years later, the
that
government
happens a
found me
lot
and
in
mailed me.
crypto though. So
Yeah,
let's be very, very clear, right?
that's kind of my thoughts.
95% of these projects
Yeah.
are trash. They're
Mhm.
absolute basura, right? And so the thing you have to understand is that whenever there's a new technology, there's a new anything, right? You have to understand the fundamentals of whatever asset class that you're dealing in, right? So that's why Jim made the distinction between Bitcoin and all the other coins, because there is a major distinction. And the major distinction is Bitcoin is the only one that's decentralized.
Mhm.
All the other ones aren't decentralized,
And
not
it's
one of them.
and it's funny, right? Because in the quote unquote finance space, right, a lot of people who are like just all crypto,
Mhm.
they look at us crazy because they're like, you're because we tell people over 95% of NFTs are worthless and trash. Over
Trash.
95% of these crypto projects are worthless and trash. Now there are the 5% that do have value and do have utility. So there is value there. So people in crypto hate that. But then the people are traditional people who are traditional finance, like you guys are so risky because you even talk about crypto to begin with. So we're kind of in this weird middle space because
I know it's hard.
one of the things that we believe in though is that there is opportunity here, but we also believe in being careful in preserving assets. So some of our advice as it pertains to crypto is like more conservative than most, but it's for a reason because we're anti-lottery ticket culture. But we do think that if you put the time into study and understand what you're doing, there is value and there is money to be made there. But it's not what you're going to see on most people's TikToks or Instagram where they're getting you to chase a coin because they want to
I'm
pump
gonna
it
give
in.
you some bars, and then like,
Yeah, we
you
now
see
we ain't with
Beheza?
that.
Do you see Beheza made up a fake coin and it took off to like 14, like stuff like that. So
Yeah.
first, disclaimer, everybody, disclaimer. Ericka Williams is giving a disclaimer. I was a person who said the Bitcoin is trash. This is trash. All this is stupid. Y'all chasing your tail. I did do that. I've spent the past 2 years educating myself on what I could. Also, too, I am in a $297 group every month with a group that studies, cryptocurrencies and what they're investing in. Why? Because it's important to know after I listen to Dr. Mirror's speech, like there are changes coming on the horizon.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
guess who's still gonna win? Just like the marijuana, y'all. It's the
Yep,
people that's got real estate, it's
just
people
like
that
when the
already
tech
got money.
space.
Tech space.
To just give you a quick story, when I first got into crypto, Corey was the first person to tell me about it. He's like, buy some Bitcoin, buy some. I'm like, Corey, I'm a real estate guy. I don't want to hear about any of this.
Mm-hmm.
But he kept kept pressuring me, and that's my guy. I was like, all right, I'll buy a little bit of Bitcoin. So I bought a couple Bitcoin, and the thing is, at the time, Bitcoin was trading for less than $1,000. It's 800, 900 bucks somewhere around there. And then 2017 happened, and it shot to the roof. I literally got scared because I'd never had an asset go that high that fast. So I sold a lot of it and went to what I knew. I bought a rental property that I still own to this day. So I actually have a property that I purchased, from the sale of Bitcoin. Now, but the smart thing I did was I continuously dollar cost average, and that's when I started to study more and say, okay, now I need to figure out why and what's going on here. And that journey like led me down a what's called the Bitcoin rabbit hole, where you learn about all kinds of things. So but originally I just did it because Corey kept pestering me, but I did end up buying a piece of real estate with it. So education is paramount because what I recognize is just being online and talking to people that whole it bothers me so much that I keep bringing up the lottery ticket mentality, looking for this coin and that coin and that coin, and a lot of that is garbage, and a lot of our folks get hurt in that. Like a lot of our folks get
Because we
hurt
don't
in
have
that.
enough. We don't have enough wiggle room to come back like other people.
Exactly. But the thing
Right.
about it is, if not for real estate, I wouldn't have been able to make the initial purchase that set off my crypto portfolio to begin with. That came from me having years of working in real estate.
Like, and I tell people like this, I got over leveraged, came out of being over leveraged, and was like, okay, learn, fix. And we have a community that's like, oh, I took one foot out. Oh, I messed up. I'm out. Right.
Yeah.
And that's why I was so anti Bitcoin, because I'm like, y'all out here jumping into something and you're not even studying the utilization, the purpose of it. What is it going to do? How does it work? Right. They just saw their cousin on
cycles, right?
Instagram.
So what people didn't understand is the market cycle of crypto, right? So
Mm-hmm.
those people who got in 16 got to boom in 2017, right? And then it went from in 26 at the end of 2017, early part of 2018, it was 20,000 a coin. And by mid 2020, it was $3,000 a coin. But what nobody understood was that the market cycle says that every 4 years that there's a halving in Bitcoin, and that every halving that the previous low price becomes, the previous high price becomes the low price. And so now at that point, if you were buying at $3,000 a coin in 2020, now you're sitting on something extra crazy, because you understand the market cycles. Or if you did like Jim was talking about, if you dollar cost averaged over all of that time, your money is now always going to be worth. There's no point that you could have bought from 2018 up to 2020 where you be losing money right now, because Bitcoin is at $44,000 a coin right now. And so if you're an actual investor like Jim is, like I am, then you're not losing no money on Bitcoin. You just can't be.
And the way we were operating now is also a little bit different than others, because we show people how to create crypto banks. And what you do when you create your crypto bank is you use it to buy real estate. So what ends up happening is, let's just say, and I don't think this will happen, let's just say that Bitcoin went to zero. At this point, I've probably gotten 5 properties from either selling or leveraging Bitcoin. Those pieces of land aren't going anywhere. So it's like now you practice the philosophy of being your own bank and learning how to use it to acquire assets. That changes the game, so it's not just about trying to find the craziest, newest token that someone created as a pump and dump. And
I lost my Bitcoin in a boating accident.
Yeah, so but I do get your point though, Ericka. Your point is valid, that a lot of times people jump into things because they're just chasing, because they're trying to get rich fast.
So there was an article, and that's part of why I've kind of showed people. I was like, when I went to the meetings and also when I was at the real estate thing, is the bias is, like we talked earlier about the banking, the bias in the system. You're skipping that, right? So I did a video, it's not out yet, about M1 Finance, how look, M1 Finance was like, yo, you put $5,000 in here, we give you 20% of your money back in a loan, right? And people were like, I don't know, is it a trap, Ericka? What is it? I said, y'all, it's simple banking. It's like, it's simpler than what we have in current banks. Current banks, you can put 50K in there and they like, I don't care.
If you have the asset, you can borrow from it.
Yes.
It's literally,
yes.
That the thing about crypto banking is it's literally smart contracts, right? So there are no biases except for, if you have the asset, you can borrow against it.
No people don't even know what smart contract
don't care. It does not care about whether you're fat or skinny. It does not care whether you're rich or poor. It does not care whether or not your grandma or your uncle gave you the money. It does not
where the money come from.
It does not care where the money came from. If you have the asset that the smart contract allows you to borrow from, you can borrow, and then the smart contract will tell you how much you can borrow and at what percentage you can borrow from it. So anywhere from 25 to 50 to 80%, there are different loan products out in the market. But what we're saying is that if you have assets, like it's pure liquidity, right? Is so when you have a house,
teach that in the masterclass.
Yeah, we teach about the liquidity of it, right? So when you have a house, you have to extract the value out of it, right? If you have a Bitcoin, just like your house, it's an asset, right? That fluctuates in price, right? And for the most part, Bitcoin is the asset that has grown the most over the last 10 years, right? So we're not even going to talk about Bitcoin growth, just as an asset, right? And let's say you have a Bitcoin that's worth $44,000. And you wanted to borrow $20,000, you don't have to go to the bank. You can literally go into your smart app, click a few buttons, and walk out with 20 grand, 50% of whatever you put in. And there are some smart contracts that will pay that 50% back for you, so you can't even lose that, right? There are lots of things that you can do in crypto that you can't do in the regular world. And so you have to understand that the crypto space is opened up. For me, especially for me, somebody who got dumb, I got the worst credit in the world, but I got low. My credit is
most business owners have bad credit, and I know people get, oh no, I'm like most business owners.
I not nearly as bad as mine, but the thing is, I've learned how
I have
to
amazing credit. I won't put that on the record.
So, but listen,
he's like,
I don't have a reason to lie. I don't have a reason to lie to people. My credit is bad, right? I'm an old. Let me shut up. But anyway, there's things I can do in crypto that negate the fact that I made all of those bad decisions for the first 35 years of my life. And crypto helped me to negate that. Literally, the assets that I have, I can extract value from them without having to talk to anyone. I literally can extract value from them from my cell phone. So I don't need a bank to do anything that I do. All the Bando properties I buy, all that stuff, I buy them from my crypto bank. I don't go to the bank to buy anything.
So part of what we talked about before this whole video started, and I want to tie into what he's saying. Well, earlier I was telling them, you guys, off record, but we were saying it, but there's 3 ways to get rich in America, point blank period, in the world, almost historically, hundreds of years: real estate, business, stocks. Here's the thing about what he said. Okay, you got to have the money to do it, right? So a lot of people are like, I don't know if I want to start business. When I have my business on Stripe, I hate PayPal. They got me locked out again. PayPal, Stripe, and all that stuff. If I make $30,000 in a month and I go to the bank and say, hey man, what's up? The bank is still on old systems. Like, I don't understand what you do. Is it e-commerce? Is YouTube? I don't understand, right? They don't understand. I have to explain it to them. They usually pat me on the back like, that's good, and send me out the door. Capital companies are like, hey girl, here you go. Boom. As long as you put an LLC, I don't care. Stripe goes, you made $52,000 last month from a sales on your page. Boom. Here's a loan for $52,000, and we'll take 20% of your money that you make in the future till you pay the loan back. Crypto, next level. I'm trying to follow the chain for everybody. Banking, traditional banking, which is mostly dead. Then we talk about basically merchant cash advances, which are terrible. And then you also have business loaning to capital companies, right? Capital companies loaning to businesses. Then you have Stripe, PayPal, QuickBooks, even getting into the loan game, Square loan game. Now you go on to the next side, and that's crypto. So I said M1 Finance as an example. Okay, I put.
They're not even a crypto company,
right? Yeah, I put 50,000 into M1 Finance,
They're
and I
fintech though, so that's the same thing. It's a fintech.
20% back, company, right? But let's say I take that 50,000 and have an M1 Finance and put it over in crypto, and want to take a 50K loan. Do y'all see the liquidity issue? Do you see where we're going with this? Do you see how this is wrecking banks?
It is.
Wrecking
banks hate it. And the thing about it is, they don't really hate Bitcoin and all of that stuff as much. They hate stable coins more than they hate Bitcoin, because stable coins are really what wreck banks, because stable coins, they don't fluctuate, right? So banks love things that fluctuate because they can extract money out of systems that fluctuate. Stable coins don't fluctuate, right? And so you got a stable asset that you can make 12, 15, 19, 25% on, sitting it still, right? And then you can borrow against that stable asset. Banks hate that.
Banks. I'm gonna tell you why I say some. Well,
banks,
right?
Some banks, but I'm just saying the monetary system hates that.
I'm gonna tell you why, right? Because what's happening now is you see banks getting into the space, right? And if you look at something like USDC, which is a stable coin, and you start to look back who owns USDC, like how that come about. Yeah, you just start pulling back the layers. You'll see that it's owned by Circle, which is part Coinbase, part Goldman Sachs. Yep. So they have. So the thing about it is,
they when still you start getting money.
They have their hands in the pot. You know, even when they were saying this is a bad thing, stay away from it, they were accumulating it. Yeah. So so it's like the thing about banks is they've been in business for hundreds of years, some of them, and they aren't going anywhere, right? They're gonna like reshape.
They're gonna adapt.
Well, they invest like a hedge fund. They're spread across the board. They're a little bit of everything.
Exactly. So they can't really fully lose because they're putting, their paws into the space now. So as it continues to grow,
they own the companies that own those other companies, so they'll be around.
Same thing like Sears. People don't understand Sears. Sears owned over 250 different appliance repair companies across the whole United States. So still. So you bought like there was here in Austin, there used to be a headquarters for the phones. And everybody was like, what do y'all do? Why is this big old building over here? What do y'all do? And they're like, well, Sears owns 250 different appliance companies. We're answering the phone all over the whole United States for you to get your appliance done. So of course I answered the phone as Betty's Appliance in Wisconsin. but really we're all inside the headquarters of Sears, which is crazy. So that's why people like Sears went out of business. I'm like, have you been to
they
Austin?
might have fell off the stock market, but they ain't go out of business.
They still have a lot of like companies they still own.
When 08 happened and people were losing their homes, going through foreclosure, I saw like, banks that were like supposedly in trouble. And I help with some sales, like, I have a real estate license too, but I generally only deal with investors. But I was helping some folks get out of some deals, and they were LLCs that were just wild looking LLCs. And you start looking those up and pulling back the layers, and you find out that some of these big time banks, that were foreclosing actually owned the investment companies. And like their hands were in every part of the transaction. I'm like, yo, they're not even really losing. It looks like they're writing it off from one bank, like during this deal. They're writing this debt off, but they're buying it from themselves. Like it was all kinds of weird stuff in the
paper moving. It was paper moving.
It's like they're not. What do you call them, Corey? The cabal. Like
the cabal.
They're in everything.
Yeah, they're the cabal. They're not going anywhere. So the thing is, people think politicians run the world, and politicians they're face pieces. They don't run anything. Right. The thing is, the companies that own the politicians run them. Right. People don't understand anything about the Federal Reserve. They don't understand anything about the International Monetary Fund. They don't understand how their politics came to be. Right. They don't understand how countries were formed through wars and who funded those wars. Right. You have to peel back the layers a little bit to understand who really runs things. Right. And
Corey, you better stop getting us into our after-hour show.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Man, listen, I'll put it like this.
Corey, you trying to get my videos flagged.
Where I was going with this is that
Yeah,
crypto disrupts that a little bit.
It does.
Because now we can go peer-to-peer. We can go around that and through that, right? Because it's not. I'm not going to say crypto disrupt that. Bitcoin disrupts that.
Well, Lending Club. When I was with Lending Club for years, I had 14% returns on my money, and people like, "Oh, I've lost money," and I was like, "Y'all sound like PR hit pieces." Because every day I'm on there, people be paying their loans back. Businesses. I mean, Lending Club and Prosper were that first kind of kick in the door of like, hey, y'all, we ain't even got to deal with the bank. Send me this. Send me $25.
Fintech is a huge space, but like there's two, like Confessions of an Economic Hitman is one.
There's things that don't do it, Corey. Don't do it. Hold it.
The other one is Secret Empires. Like Secret Empires is what I'm actually reading now. I'm at the very end of it, but when you read those two books, you see like how the world works.
You gotta add the third book, Jim.
Which one? The Creature from Jekyll Island.
Yep. that's the triumvirate.
Boom. Drop the mic.
You gotta add the triumvirate.
Text me those in Instagram too, because I know I've got one of those, but not the other two.
I got you.
And this is part of why I travel. Like I thank God my parents traveled. My dad, my grandparents were in Japan. They got married. And when you had the women's army, the men's army. Then my father and my uncle lived in Japan for 7 years and like just traveled nonstop. Our family used to take like 20, 30 people deep on carnival cruises and family vacations. People like, oh, how do y'all have the money to do that? How? And I'm like, we just put the money in little bit by little every month till we get to the trip. And this is my biggest argument. We're in America and we hate the game. Oh man, the game is rigged, y'all. The game is rigged. Like, don't hate the player. Don't hate the game. Learn the rules so you can win.
Yeah.
Like I've got people that I consult with literally just past a couple of weeks. They have flea market businesses. They're making $100K a year, but they don't even have a regular bank. They got a PayPal card. I'm like, baby, no. What part of the game is this? Take some of this money and go put it in a real bank. What do you think about this in stocks? I'm like, we can't even talk about stocks till we get you to the real bank first.
They must never have PayPal hold their bread up because PayPal held
That's the thing,
PayPal.
Listen, I had PayPal last year, or was it the year before that? Held $78,000 for 9 months, y'all. I was out here hurt. I was like, and I had all this affiliate market. I have over 250 affiliates. So money's just hitting the account every month, and I'm just getting sicker and sicker to my stomach. And then like they holding it again, but it's a smaller amount. It's like only like 15,000. But I'm like, it's such a disruptor. I almost feel like PayPal is like, look, we owe some money to the Russians. Can y'all hold on? We're gonna hold your money. And then I'm gonna give it back to you in 10 months or something. You know, because
they get interest on your money right now.
They did us 30 days at a time. Because anytime we made over a certain amount of money in our business, they was holding part of it for 30 days at a time.
And then they didn't give us all kinds of different excuses.
Every time it was a different excuse. We was like, yo, like, can we live? like, not that we was living off that money, but we would like to see our money because we earned it. You know what I mean? Like, we did the work. Can you not live off our money before we do? Thanks.
So they must have had that problem yet if they're out there doing that kind of numbers.
They haven't. And I think it's because they're in a flea market and it's just slow and steady
Gotcha.
every weekends and reseller kind of stuff. But also too, it's like you know, there's a lot of little shuggy in the game. But if you have money, is what I'm trying to get people to understand, is if you own the house, then you can do what you want with the house, right? A lot of times I get on the phone calls with people and somebody's like, yeah, I live with my parents, but I'm getting ready to leave because their house is falling apart. Son, you live there. You 30-something years old living there. Don't you see that you need to contribute to the roof, contribute to the repairs, contribute to fixing this place before you just bow out and get your own house? Like, what part of the game is that?
If you help them pay for it and fix it, then you can own it.
And he in that part of Philly, so I'm just gonna tell y'all, I'm not gonna no disclaimers. Like, people know if they get on Coastal Call me, if it's open.
Yeah. I mean, listen, man, it all, you know. But the thing is that goes back to the conversation we was having earlier about, you know, us not loving one another, right? Mm-hmm. While we created by the hood, as you know, it went from a real estate thing to a we love each other thing. You know what I mean? Like, black love thing. You know what I mean? Like, the thing about it is we gotta like each other and love each other enough to take care of one another, right? Mm-hmm. The thing is, if you living with your parents and you live in that household, contribute to that household until you can, you know what I mean, until that household becomes yours, right? Because if you live in it and you contribute in it, the vast majority of the time, you're going to end up owning it, right? So at some point, you know what I mean, you know, it might mess up your love life a little bit if your parents got rules, but the whole thing about that is if you get a couple of dollars.
It's also seeing the value in ownership, right? So a lot of times when we talk about gentrified areas, when other people see value in it, I've seen times people come back like, man, this neighborhood look. I like, well, you had
my parents owned the house right up the street.
Yeah, like your family had the house here. You guys sold for next to nothing. Like, thing about real estate, which makes real estate amazing to me, is you can make all kinds of mistakes if you own property and still somehow end up ahead. I can go back to Philadelphia and I can look 20 years ago. I could have bought anywhere in the city. Didn't matter. I could have bought in the worst neighborhood and I'd still be up right now.
Yeah.
Right. So real estate is like a forgiving asset class. Like, I can make mistakes and I can still bump into money just by that's what makes real estate.
I want to talk about whether or not you made money or did inflation go up and raise the prices of the value of the house.
Well, I mean,
it's a combination because there's some people moving too.
Yeah, it's context to it.
But still, not to say that, you know, because, you know, some people say that the asset didn't make any money at all. It just rose with the value of inflation.
But guess what? When I go to the bank, I can get some money out of it. Like, what I'm saying is real estate allows you
to argue with you. I was just playing the devil's advocate.
Yeah,
I was just playing devil.
But real estate allows you to make mistakes to a lot of other asset classes.
For sure, 100%.
And that's what makes it powerful. Like, because as long as you own that land is just so important. It's imperative that we always have that conversation about.
I was just talking to somebody, and they was like, you know, well, they were shaming people. One of my old mentors, how do I say this? He was mortgage shaming people, basically saying that you don't own the house, the bank owns the house when you have a mortgage.
Old tied argument. That's a tied
argument. I was like, if the person sells the crib, right, they can still sell their house, right? So my thing is, how if they don't own it, how can they sell it? Right? If they didn't own it, how could they sell it?
That's ridiculous, because I'm gonna tell you
my thing is, can they still extract value out of it? Right. So my whole thing is, even if technically they don't own it, right? They still have the rights to sell it. They still have the rights to make improvements and do whatever they want to do with it. They're still reaping the benefits of the value of that house if they go in and they, you know, they have a reasonable credit, you know, profile and able to extract value from it. So my thing is, why do you care?
Well, you know what I mean? Well, because again, that's just cliche talk, and that they don't
nuanced arguments.
Yeah, they don't understand accounting and how things work, right?
They don't listen to Dave Ramsey too long.
Yeah, pretty much. There was a guy who wrote a book called Last Chance Millionaire named Douglas Andrews, and he was like in the insurance business. When I was working in insurance, I actually flew out to study with him, and he was in Utah. And one of the things that he got me to understand when it comes to real estate is it's all about your balance sheet. So he had several properties and he had cash accounts where he could have just paid them off. And he says, why am I going to rush to pay these things off
at 3 and 4%
at
when I
3
can
and
take
4%,
that money?
when I can take the same money and make 15%? It makes absolutely no sense. When you go to, if I go to downtown Philadelphia and I look at all the commercial properties and I go then go to the public records, all of them have mortgages on them.
Every single one.
But the people still own those properties. No one pays off a big commercial property like just to own it.
Why? Why would they give up that little bit of?
Because they can put that cash to work and still own the asset. The asset's going to appreciate whether you have all your money in the bricks or not. But the thing is, we talk about crypto, right? Tie it together. Real estate is a store of value. But what makes real estate the greatest store of value is, even though it's a store of value, it has the potential to kick off cash flow, right?
Crypto does the same thing.
Right. But here's the thing, though. Here's a difference. Cash flow, right? Depreciation. The tax
crypto
benefits
doesn't have that.
The tax benefits that come with owning real estate make it different than any other asset class. When you start adding all those things together, that's why it's probably, I think I'm gonna say probably, that's why it is the greatest asset to have, right? I don't think it's the only asset you should have. I believe in
diversification.
But when you look at look at how banks treat real estate. Right,
they do.
You ever hear see like the memes that go around like the bank will loan me money for a house, but it won't give me money for my business. Like it's a reason for that. Like,
So man, listen, if you ever look at a bank's balance sheet, there's two things that you'll notice that banks have that are cliche and people be like, if you're really rich, you don't need those things. That's real estate and insurance. If you look at banks, if you look at their balance sheet where they make the most of their money, they make a lot of their money in real estate and insurance.
Have we table this for next time for us to talk about? But we're going to talk about captive insurance on another time.
Ooh,
because like I feel like what's happened is I was with the Cardone Ventures and other stuff, but a lot of the younger white guys have gotten into like old money politics and techniques, and they sharing them, and I'm like, y'all don't even know how powerful that is. Don't even know. But we'll keep going. Insurance and balance sheets, real estate. And
yeah. Right. So, we talk about being your own bank, right? So, if you want to be your own bank, you need to study what banks do, right? Banks put their money in real estate and insurance for the most part, right? They don't on their balance sheet. If you look at a bank's balance sheet, you know what I mean? Because we look at balance sheets all the time because we're in the stock market. So I'm looking at banks' balance sheets, and then a lot of times I'm looking at their balance sheets, and I'm looking at where their money is. It's literally in insurance, and a lot of the balance sheet is properties they own, so that they can get depreciation for tax purposes. So,
but it's something that Ericka said earlier, and she said it all the time, and she's right when she talks about the way to get wealthy in America. That's what to me is most interesting about this overall conversation. Is a lot of times we get caught up in the hype of socials or YouTube or what have you, but I've been the one that read Black Enterprise and I've read Forbes since I was a kid. I was like a nerd like that, and that's what I like to read. And every year it's the same thing.
The richest
people with the money own businesses, they own land, and
they own
stocks.
They own stock.
And they just keep rolling it into it.
Yeah, there's like the faces may change.
In the next 15 years, you'll start to see crypto people in there though.
I mean,
as an
asset
asset class,
most of the crypto billionaires and millionaires, guess what? They own companies.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, business. So back to the three. Back to the
three. Back to the big three.
Yeah. So, but the thing is though that the faces may change, but what they did never changed, right? So I'm like, it's right in front of us. It's literally right in front of us, but a lot of times we overcomplicate things.
For sure.
Well, even if you every time I just did a video and people got mad at me and said locals don't want to buy real estate. Locals will give you every reason in the book. The prices didn't change. It's too expensive now. It's this. It's that. It's this. Girl, my pinky toe yesterday and something. It's always something. So even here in Austin, we have economic development plans that go all the way north to Waco. It's showing you what they're gonna build on this highway.
It's like Philly's 2035 plan.
Yeah, what they got going, what's going to happen, what's going to get put in. So I've been going near where Samsung's going to build this place, and I was looking for land. And they're like, "Why are you way out there?" 2 months later, Samsung buys 1,700 acres to build this plant over here. So the same people I talked with 2 weeks ago, 2 months ago, that was going to sell this house for 20 grand. This piece of land for 20 grand. Now it's like, oh no, I need 80 now, honey. I need more now. You're like, I bet you do, don't you? So, but when I even tell people like, hey, I'm gonna go out there and buy this land, they're like, what you gonna do? It ain't nothing out there. I said, listen, I've seen developers come out here, till this piece of property, and build a whole neighborhood. Build it, it
You
will come.
create the value for yourself.
Create the value. There you go.
Jim, didn't you have a
it,
developer? Hold on, just for a second. We had a developer here in Philadelphia around the Temple area tell Jim. Jim was he was.
Yeah, so he's a developer. He's like a mentor of mine, and we were talking, and I was telling him about. He was telling me he bought this big plot of land, and he's saying, "I'm like, well, you can't look at the comps around here. Like, you can't get what you think you're going to get." He was like, "I make my own comps. My land is
I'm going to develop it."
Yeah, he was like, "I don't care. I don't care what your comps say because I'm making my own comps because I own all of this land." And I'm like, "Okay, well, excuse me, I apologize, but." But no, you're right, Ericka. Like I read one where somewhere that Oprah owns a bunch of land, like
up and down I-35 from Mexico to Canada.
That she's just sitting on. Like,
but guess where it was? What was coming through it? What was coming through it?
The pipeline.
Thank you, Corey. The pipeline. I said Oprah been on this land for 20 years, y'all. She knew what was coming, and it's still gonna come. They don't invest for no reason in these places.
Yeah, but like people, and then you look at like. I know people hate Bill Gates for whatever reason. Like, they associate him with everything, but that's
everything. That's another dark after.
He's associated with everything. But when you look at what he did with his resources from Microsoft, he bought so much land, like land, stuff that's not even developed on, and his foundation himself just own it, because over time he's going to pass it down to the next generation. It's going to have value. Eventually, somebody's going to want to build there, right? Our populations are continue to grow. Someone's going to need to come see him. Maybe not now, maybe 10 years, maybe 100 years, but his family's going to own that land.
Well, people are playing the moving game, right? Because this girl was like, they complain about Atlanta. I did a whole video on Atlanta showing all this development that's already planned. Like, what are you talking about? They already got this in the books. It's ready. It's coming. And people like, oh, Macon's 45 minutes away. I would never live out there. I said, y'all, I've bought land lots for 400. Them same land lots this year are 2,500. It's coming. They will keep moving further out to chase a cheaper rent. Like, this guy used to say this, and I thought he was racist at the time. He's like, y'all love that $400 rent. And I was like, come on, man, easy on that. But you see where the people are going to the mobile home parks.
Yeah.
Because it's three thoughts. Oh my God, we got to make more money. We got to elevate. We got to get up out of here. We got to go somewhere. Or you have to maintain everything. All right, we good. Let's just keep sitting here. Let's not move. We're going to stay here. That's the boiling frog is what I call it. They in the pot, it's boiling. They just stay here. Then you got the people like, we know what we're going to do. We're going to save $200 a month. We're going to move further out, or we going to move to the trailer, or we going to move, like they keep finding somewhere to move to try to save this money, when really the answer, of course, is, okay, well, how long can you do that? How long can you cut and save out of $30K a year? That just ain't, you got to make some more money at some point, right? But some people are older. Some people are just elderly, whatever. So that's the kind of K-shape. When people talk about K-shaped recovery, I think of that K of like, you got people doing this and you got people going down.
Yeah.
Just to preserve what they're already making.
Yeah. So, I mean, you're right, though, in terms of how things spread out, because, that's just natural. That just makes sense, right? Neighborhoods go through neighborhood life cycles, and the ones that are touching in on all the sides will continue to spread and spread and spread. It happens. I mean, the thing is, if you go back historically, you can just see this stuff, and that's what I'm saying. A lot of stuff isn't hidden. You can just watch it happen. But
let's bring it back to crypto.
Yeah, but yeah. No, our conversation go. We get into conversations and we be all over the place.
Yeah, because we about to be on this joke for 4 hours.
I know, no. We wrapping it up. I make, you see over here, every time you see me writing, I make little notes of like, make that a snip, clip that, that's a bar, clip it. You know what I mean? Because I'm chopping this up. I'm putting out the 2 hours probably tomorrow. It depends on if Peter gets it done, and then just let it rock. Let it because YouTube loves it. But then I'll do a bunch of chops. So.
You got the Vlad TV.
You have to, baby. It's
let's go.
It's the way.
Listen,
I had a video I did with DJ Money Coach. Hour, 20 minutes. It did all right. I took a 12-minute snippet. It did 92,000 views in a week.
Yeah,
because people have that.
Studying your channel more. You got YouTube down pat.
People get mad though. They be like, "Where the whole video?" You be like, "Okay, I got the whole video right here." Yeah. So that's why I told them, y'all, this whole video is gonna be out. And then we clip it.
We started doing that. And what I found funny about that is, right, they say, where's the whole video? Well, the whole video was up first. You didn't care about the whole video.
Thank you.
But now that you saw the clip, you want to know where the whole video is.
You got to think about people's brain. The average person does the best videos on YouTube are 7 to 12 minutes.
Okay.
And now you're getting more people closer to the 7-minute mark. But what can you put ad revenue on? 10 minutes, right? So what happens is in that sweet spot of 7 to 12 minutes, people can be like, oh man, I ain't got a video can be 15 minutes. Oh, I ain't got 15 minutes. Video be 10 minutes. Well, I think I got 10 minutes. Right? Like, right.
Yeah.
That's what happens with the YouTube shorts and TikTok. They be on there just getting lost.
Yep.
So even in the crypto class I'm in, the guy does 11-minute videos. Like he's breaking down a whole like the charts, this, that, but he never gets over 11 minutes. He's like, I know y'all getting bored because you have to realize the type of people you're advertising to, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So even in this crypto segment, I done wrote down, okay, we've been on here since 129. Okay, cut this for crypto, but I still know somebody gonna be like, oh, he said that when he said that at the end of the video, like you cut off too early. So
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we're in a crypto mastermind. It's not even a crypto mastermind. It's so much stuff going on in that mastermind.
It's a cabal. No,
it feels like it because there's people back there. Like you want to talk about the millionaire next door that you don't even know you in a room full of millionaires, right?
Yeah.
But
that's everybody's sharing information. And the reason why there's so many millionaires in there is because everybody's sharing information. You know what I mean?
Well, it's not just sharing information; it's taking action on information.
That's
why I'm at Apex.
But it started with sharing information.
Right.
It started with the sharing, and then the thing
certain people take action. Yeah, those that don't take action won't have success, but those that do will, right? But what's interesting about that, like in keeping in with our whole conversation, is that is right. So you're putting yourself in that bubble, but people that are having certain conversations. So if you wake up every day and you're living, wherever you're living, and you're having conversations about, who got shot or who got robbed or when the music is out, you're going to live a certain lifestyle versus you're in the circle where people are talking about the stock market and real estate and crypto and this, that, and the third. Like it's
the conversations we having is totally
different. Just getting in the room does a lot for someone. You know what I mean?
Wait, say that again, because I be telling people all the time they don't be believing me.
Just getting in the room. That's the first step. When you get in the room, because one of the asset classes that no one talks about, like there's no YouTube videos on that, is relation. I think relationships are an asset.
Highest ROI of all time.
Right? Because I've gotten opportunities and things just from being a nice person and doing people well and having relationships that sometimes even money can't get you in those doors. But relationships are an asset class in the same way that you invest in the stock market, or you invest in real estate.
Have to invest in relationships.
That's in your relationships, whether that's spending time or just like, checking on people like that. Not that you're doing it just to get benefit from it, but that's what happens over time when you build strong relationships. The relationships themselves are an asset class.
By themselves, right? When I was flat broke, I had relationships. I never felt broke because if I didn't have bread, I can go to my neighbor. When I lived in my original neighborhood, we were all poor. But the relationships that we had in the neighborhood, no one felt poor. Because if I didn't have water, my next door neighbor would come and take the water key from the water department and turn my water back on. If my electric was off, I can go plug up my appliances and my neighbors, use his electrical outlet to keep my power.
That's why you got the Philly fires.
Yeah, those things happen. But this is in the early.
What happened?
I'm old, so this is in the early '80s, and we didn't burn ourselves down doing this kind of stuff. But anyway, but you know what I'm saying? Like those relationships kept us from feeling. I didn't know I was poor until I got to high school, and there were actual rich people there.
Yeah,
right. So you know what I mean? Because of the relationships I had built in the neighborhood I was from, there's nothing that I didn't want that I had. Right? I didn't know that I was supposed to want all of these things, you know what I mean? But now that I didn't need it, like the relationship ROI is crazy.
Yeah. And also, we'll do another combo on this because we are going over. But it's literally like there's a guy I'm bringing on and he's building real estate. This other guy taught him, right? Like he's getting empty lots in Florida and building from ground up new construction, right? And he was like, yo, I'm so tired of getting money by myself. I'm gonna take 10 people and I'm gonna make them millionaires. And this guy, everybody's like, oh, that's crazy. I said, no, that's what people do. They literally do a mastermind.
That's actually genius.
Bring people up under them, help prop their business up too, right? Not too much. Not like you're not doing it for hand holding them to get, like you're helping them get it. And then they conversate. Like from my conferences I did here in DC and Atlanta, girls got together, partnered, bought a Airbnb in Mobile, Alabama, right? The other ladies went and did a business in New Jersey. These other ladies did a business in Baltimore. Like it's getting in the room, and it's the relationships in the room. And like, there's a reason, like there's this one guy raised $4 million and people got mad with him. And then he raised another 2 million a couple years later because relationships. Did he communicate? Was he telling you what he was going to do? There are people now that, I raised 100 grand from. I barely get to talk to them. They be busy doing their own life. But they go, okay, I trust you. Just do this, keep me updated. Boom, go on about your day. But that's come from relationships, and people don't understand that part.
Yeah, that's important.
So, but look, this has been a good one. We done talked about books. We done talked about all kind of stuff. We done hit it all. We'll come back around and do an update on crypto, because I was gonna say, when you said DLTR, immediately I was like, I know that from somewhere. Dollar Tree.
That's Dollar Tree.
Yeah, and they went up 41%.
There's it's DLR or DTR. I don't know.
When you find it, just message me. We'll do another segment on because I'm doing a whole. I have this other channel that just talks about stock profits. Every time people complain about gas prices, I go buy more ExxonMobil. I just go every time.
It's just DLR. It's Digital Realty Trust. It's DL. It's just
DLR. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. David, Larry, Robert. DLR.
Sorry, I take notes, y'all, during my shows, and I always want to come back to them later. But we'll talk more about your Buy the Hood camp this year. What's y'all game plan for that? We'll talk more about some other stuff. And again, I already told you, when I come up there, take me to the Philly cheesesteak safely.
Listen, we got you.
Before
you know, you can't say Philly cheesesteak in Philly.
Yes, it's cheesesteak.
When you say Philly cheesesteak in Philly, everybody gonna know you're a foreigner.
What do you call it?
It's just a cheesesteak.
But we got you. Listen, anytime, we love having these conversations. Like, we came on our platform back. That's how it goes. These conversations are great because we all are all over the place. But that's how a great conversation is.
Yeah, Corey, keep me posted when you move to Texas. The kids gonna love it when you teach here too. So
okay.
And then Jimmy with the smooth gel, go ahead and shake the head for the audience. If they don't know, that's all natural. No Beijing.
All natural.
No Beijing for
juices
Jimmy.
And berries.
Water, spritz. Listen, when I got my braids in my hair, people were like, what are you doing? I was like, y'all, the curls need a break. It's cold. It's winter time. I need a break. So anyways, you guys, tell them where they can find you on the internet, and I'm going to close it out.
All right. So you can go to buythehood.com to learn more about us. We are here on YouTube, youtube.com/buythehood. So we're basically Buy the Hood everywhere, TikTok, Instagram, everywhere, farmers only. I'm joking. But seriously though, we're just at Buy the Hood everywhere, Twitter, everywhere.
All right, you guys, this is your girl Ericka from the Classy Climb blog. Thank you for being here. I hope you enjoyed this podcast style version of this video. We just had a good time talking. That's what happens when you have good people, good intelligence, and the vibe. I will break down some good clips out of this, and also we'll send it over to Junior Lee. He does such a great job to give you guys some Instagram clips. But if you have not checked out their Instagram, go check out Buy the Hood. They make me laugh every week because my family surrounded me with good music, and their clips always are hilarious because I'm like, oh, I remember that. My grandma played that, right? So, you guys, this is your girl Ericka Williams from the Classy Climb blog. I'm going to put as many videos together and out for you guys before I go to Africa and Eastern Europe, because your girl is going off the grid. All right. So this is your girl Ericka. Later.